right.
I think I'll maybe consider that. I'll take that into consideration.
So,
Hello.
are you looking live on your end?
That's a great question. Yeah, I sure am. Hey, that's me. All right.
Oh my goodness, we're doing it.
Go live. One viewer's
We are
waiting.
live.
Okay.
Wow,
You are live. Hey. Cool. All right.
Wow.
I
Okay.
can't believe we did it.
I can't believe the technical difficulties that we had. I'm curious to know if anyone shows up from this, and if you saw the original, like, what, 3 hours ago when we tried to get this going, and it was just us like turning on and off the live stream. Like, I lost a couple of followers who were like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?"
Really?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But I just thought it was a very patient thing for people to chime in, and I appreciate anyone who just showed up. Was just like, "Oh, these guys are live. Let's see what happens."
Yeah. And you can make it a private stream, but then that's not as fun for the 5 followers who come on in and go, "What the hell's going on in here?" I'm setting it up so that I'm live on Instagram, but only just so that I can be like, "Hey, go to YouTube."
Oh, we're done. Yeah, we try to, for anyone who's in here, we try to make this both on Instagram and a YouTube live, but it mushed the image into like a 9:16, and it just made it unwatchable.
Yeah, looks bad.
But okay. I am excited to see what happens in this debate tonight. I'm letting you do your thing.
Cool. I'm going to add. Can I add something to this to tell people that I'm live watching the debate, or is it just a video of me? I can't post any. I can't put any text on there or anything. What the fuck? All right. Well. Ooh, wait. Okay, wait. You know what might be funny is if I turn the camera around and then I just have it like this, and it's like POV. I'm streaming on YouTube. This is what you're seeing. Oh, but they wouldn't be able to hear you, I guess.
You just have, take out your earphone and just put it on the mic and hold it there the entire time.
You guys hear this? It's right. Yeah.
That's insane.
That's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work.
But
so I'm gonna turn the volume on.
A lot of notes, and every time he would finish an answer, he would rip the page off, and the mic beside him would pick it up. It was just kind of a funny moment, and
hopefully
lots of people didn't understand what it was. So that's what you're going to hear, I'm sure, again tonight, because he's a heavy note taker, and he went through that notepad pretty quickly. Listen, this is
I don't know if you
very
listened
high
to
stakes
the
moment
French
for
debate, but like every
Mr.
so
Carney
often,
and Mr. Poilievre. Mr. Poilievre, because
there's like somebody who's going to their notes and they just go and they have like this big Velcro thing. It sounded like somebody's like doing one of those stripper reveal things where they're just like shh. And I'm wondering if we're gonna hear that again tonight.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. This is hilarious. I'm just gonna put a sticky note that says live on YouTube, watch there on my screen, and then that way, and then it's like, well, I can't help you watch it here because there's simply no way to do it, but you sure can see it on YouTube.
Yeah, you want to get those people on the YouTubes anyway.
Yeah, get onto YouTube, and then you'll be able to hear the other guy and not just my dumbass. What do you think? Does this work? Is it great? I've seen Steve Boots do this before, where it's just his own POV of like himself playing video games without the game in there at all.
And you're just watching a man play video games without knowing what the video game is.
I have seen him do this, and
I'm gonna guess it's Elder Scrolls or
and
whatever.
It's just, well, I guess it's just his way of
go over to Twitch.
Yeah, go over to Twitch. Like, why are you here? Go to Twitch. So anyway, hey guys, if you're here, go to YouTube.
Go to Hazel's YouTube.
Go to my youtube.com/@HazelIsOnline. Do not send me requests to be in my live video. I will not be watching the screen after about 5 minutes. Go to my YouTube. All right. Great. Good stuff.
Okay. Did you hear about the thing with the Green Party? Obviously, that was kind of.
Oh yeah, they got kicked out, right? That sucks.
Yeah, but then I like read the story, and I'm just like, did they just shoot themselves in the foot again? And it seems like basically from what I can gather, they like said they had candidates in all of the ridings, which is like, there was like one of the criteria for them to be able to, or it was like 90% of the ridings, whatever the criteria was. They met it. But then they were just like, yeah, but like, we're not actually running in like all of the ridings or whatever. We're pulling some of these people back because we don't want to like split the vote or whatever. And then from what I can tell, the debate commission was just like, you fucking lied to us then.
No.
Why did you lie? You're lying to us? You admitted you lied to us? As far as I can tell, that seems to be the implication.
But if a white man were to do it, that'd be fine. But if a non-white man or a non-man white does it, God forbid.
What? Wait, what?
I don't know. I'm just saying that it's fucked up now that it's all guys. They should have just let her get away with it. They should have just let her lie.
Well, it wouldn't have been.
Fine.
It wouldn't have been Elizabeth May. It would have been Jonathan Pendo.
Oh.
And he was pretty good. He was actually really good. I would say, like, I mean, from hearing him talk, he did an interview on The Decibel, which is like the Globe and Mail's The Daily. If you all don't listen to it, you all should. But they're like, yeah, we've put out an invitation to every one of the leaders, and the green guy said yes. Anyone else? And he was really fucking good on it. All right, it's starting.
Oh boy, it's starting.
CBC.
Montreal. 4 federal leaders will debate for your vote. The leaders are here and ready to go.
We got Steve Paikin.
Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, Yves-François Blanchet, and Jagmeet Singh.
I'm expecting Yves-François Blanchet to just throw bombs the whole night.
Cost of living, public safety.
What kind of bombs?
And leading in a crisis.
Like just getting in there and just like fucking shit up and just like making jabs at people. He's got no one in English Canada voting for him.
Answer the questions. Stay on theme. Stay on time.
All right, Steve.
How much each leader speaks will be counted on these clocks, visible to the leaders
like
and to you at home.
Yeah.
This is 2025 Federal Leaders Debate.
Also, hello to my YouTube chat. I just realized that you're there. I was looking at the Instagram chat. We're going to have to watch them fight.
Leaders, good to be with you here tonight in Montreal.
Steve Paikin, aching for Paikin.
Evening. Our first theme is tariffs and threats
I'm always
to Canada.
saying that.
We will begin with a round of questions.
Oh, my mom is so in love with Steve Paikin.
And then we'll go to open debate.
Hey, yo.
The first question goes to Mr. Carney. Okay. What is the starting point for negotiations, Mr. Carney, with the United States?
If you have something to say, Hazel, just let me know to pause it.
As you have stated,
no,
our relationship with the U.S. is over as we know it.
Well, first, Steve, may I thank you and also thank fellow leaders for their service to Canada, people at home for taking the time to watch. I just want to underscore the premise to your question, because I think the relationship that we've had with the United States, relationship over the course of almost the last 4 decades, which has been one of steady and increasing integration, has fundamentally changed because the president is looking to fundamentally restructure the trading system. So the starting point has to be one of strength. It has to show that we have control of our own economic destiny, has to have a clear plan here at home to build this economy, to diversify our trading partners with like-minded countries.
Take a drink every time someone says economy?
In terms of our reaction to the U.S. unjustified tariffs. And that's why we have put in place counter tariffs that have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impact here at home.
Mr. Poilievre, would you do anything differently?
Well, first of all, thank you, Steve, and thank you to our fellow contestants here today.
Contestants, it's a game show.
What would I do different?
Contestants.
Well,
hello, Sharks. Today I'd like to pitch you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Yeah, exactly. Wrong show, P.
We need to counter the American tariffs with our own to deter this economic aggression. We must make clear that we will always be sovereign and independent. What would I be doing differently? Well, we need to be in a position of strength. The Liberal government has weakened our economy with anti-energy laws, red tape, and high taxes that have driven $500 billion.
Carbon taxes? How long is it going to take for him to say carbon taxes? I'm ready.
I don't know. Yeah, we got the.
This is like sentence 2, and he's lampshading it.
Well, we had energy. So like
energy and taxes, which is like very close.
In the United States, and made us incapable of shipping our resources overseas. That weakness threatens our ability to stand up for.
Let's not also pretend that, like, you know, the Keystone XL and all these things were just to, like, all these pipelines were meant to go right to the United States. Like those were the big things.
So what I do, I would cut taxes, red tape, and approve our resource projects so that we can get our goods to market and bring home the jobs, so we stand up to President Trump from a position of strength.
Mr. Singh, you get the next question. Can we trust the United States to work
I
with
have
us
some,
on
wait,
that?
pause.
Yeah.
I have something to say. Pierre
Yeah.
Poilievre's first fucking statement was just about cutting taxes, probably corporate taxes, because as we know, the regular carbon tax is already gone. Cut corporate taxes and build more fucking fossil fuel infrastructure. He said it nice, but that's literally, he's just like, you know what's going to get us out of this pickle? Drill, baby, drill. Export, baby, export. That's it. No other solutions. This man, he's bought and paid for by the fossil fuel industry, and just because he hasn't said oil and gas yet, people are probably not going to notice this. They're going to be like, yeah, our Canadian resources. That's it. Okay. All right. Roll the tape. or talk.
Yeah, well, let's hear from the next contestant.
Yeah.
And defense
Was that the
policy.
right answer, Steve? Is he going to give him points for that one?
I think we've seen,
Anyway.
first of all, good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. And thanks.
I do actually know. I don't know what Jugmeat and all of them. I don't know what the NDP's position is on pipelines. Do you?
I think they're vaguely anti-pipeline, but like,
Vaguely.
yeah,
Steve.
it depends.
We've
Yeah.
seen what for a lot of people feels like a betrayal when we look at the United States. I grew up in a border town. I grew up in Windsor, and we saw how connected we were as a city and as a community. People lived on one side of the border, worked on the other. People traveled back and forth all the time. We're in the automotive capital of Canada, and we knew how important it was to be able to build cars in Canada, but we saw that those cars went back and forth across the border. Seeing what Donald Trump did to attack.
I like how we started with just like a nice long little story. It's just,
Yeah.
we're not going to get really into substance. We're just going to go right into it.
He's got that me us now format that's very obvious.
Oh, that sounds like
Someone call Obama speechwriter.
Yeah. I was trying to connect. I don't give him. I'm not docking points from him on that one, but I feel like I feel like we're trying to tell a story here, and let's hear what the rest he has to say. Sure. We got stuff.
Canada in this unprovoked way, without any justification, really felt like a betrayal. And so Canadians now are right to say, well, we don't really trust Donald Trump at this point, and we can't really have a lot of faith in him. So when it comes to our Arctic sovereignty and our security, we need to make decisions that are in our best interest and no longer be so dependent and so reliant on the U.S. And that's what I would advocate for, making sure we are resilient, independent, and less dependent on the United States.
That was very vague. Yeah,
I was just about to say, did he say a damn thing?
That was super vague. So, you know.
Okay.
All right, we got more to go through. We can't pause every fucking time.
Would you want to see for industries affected by tariffs, many, of course, of which are in Quebec?
Many of them. First, be all welcome in Quebec and Montreal. You have me because I try not to speak English in Montreal. However, I think we should never underestimate the threat.
Again, we're just going to see him make jokes the whole time.
Quebec economy.
Yeah, why not? Who cares?
He doesn't give a shit.
No, why would he?
Acknowledge the fact that the economy of Quebec is built differently. The challenges are not the same. The necessity for Quebec to have at least partly its own voice in the negotiation is important. The difference between Quebec and Canada is very important in terms of economy, but also in terms of identity and language and values and who we are and the way we want to handle immigration. So we have the right to be different. And if this difference is being respected by whoever becomes Prime Minister of Canada, we will be reliable partners in order to achieve the best possible negotiation and protect ourselves and our economies as partners.
He's owning his
Blanchet. Okay.
Well, he didn't really say anything, but also he didn't really have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Debate. And I'll start off, Mr. Carney, with you, and then we go from there. Do you still support dollar for dollar tariffs, even if they ultimately threaten Canadian jobs and businesses?
Just trying this thing out. I'm very new to this stuff, so
dollar
it's going to look
for
a little
dollar
weird
tariffs.
sometimes. Maybe
we have to recognize,
but
and I
we
think
see
we
you.
all
Thank you
do,
for
the
chiming
United
in.
States economy is more than 10 times the size of the Canadian economy, and the principle in terms of our counter tariffs.
Also, if anybody's watching on my chat, let me know if you can hear the stream. I assume you can, but just making sure.
We have to think about the impact on Canadian businesses.
Block sweep, hell yeah.
In the auto sector, the way we've designed those auto tariffs is that Canadian automakers, if they maintain production here, if they maintain their investments here, when I say Canadian automakers, I mean automakers that have jobs and plants and production in Canada, then they can have lower tariffs.
It's true. We don't actually have any.
Tariffs on what they ship to the United States. We create a huge incentive for them in order to do that. We also have carved out the Canadian auto parts sector. Last point, I know you're pressed for time. The Canadian auto parts sector, so that it can remain with the United States. We're focused on maximizing Canadian jobs, maximizing the harm in the U.S., so that we get them where we need them.
Polyev, you want in, then Mr. Singh.
Well, Mr. Carney,
next time we
that you want our country to respond
your
with
comment
strength,
section on
after
the chat here.
The last decade,
I can only see it on mine.
Half of which
we'll just talk to our separate audiences. It's fine.
Sure, that's fine. Just tell them, just say what they're saying.
It's weaker than ever before. It's been the worst growth in the G7. We've lost $500 billion of investment south of the border. You supported blocking pipelines in Canada that gave
pipelines.
Donald
You said
Trump
it.
Pipelines.
Take a
near
drink.
monopoly over our energy, and now you want to keep in place Bill
the only fucking
C-69,
thing he cares about. It's crazy.
Liberal, no new development law that blocks us from shipping
Bill
our
C-69,
resources.
This has nothing to do with dollar for dollar tariffs, you
It's a
dumbass.
good idea to give the Americans a continued monopoly on our energy projects when you have seen how much these liberal policies have weakened our country over the last decade.
Let Mr. Carney respond, and then
there's a real petromasculinity thing happening here.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just like pipelines. We have to build big dick-shaped pipeline to make ourselves like stop being so fucking weaky-cucky.
Aaron, I know that you don't drink, so a good drinking game for you might be drink every time he doesn't reference energy, pipelines, or oil.
When he doesn't, when he's not doing it, when he's doing anything else.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Tonight I'm
record.
drinking my own homebrew kombucha. Hello, everybody out there.
And this goes to the heart of coming to the Americans with strength, but doing the right thing for Canada. Within the first week as Prime Minister, I sat down with all the premiers of the provinces and territories, as well as the leaders of the Indigenous peoples. Got an agreement with all the provinces and territories, doesn't happen very often, got an agreement for them to have one Canadian economy instead of 13, first point. Secondly, to commit the federal government to do its part by Canada Day. So free trade in Canada by Canada Day. Thirdly, the federal government to commit with respect to project review.
The question was about pipelines.
I'm getting to it.
What's the question about pipelines?
No, it wasn't.
It was about tariffs, dude.
On review and relying on provincial. Yes, it is possible under. It is possible under system.
No, it wasn't. It was about tariffs.
The impact assessment.
Yeah, but he made the question.
It is agreed on under the impact assessment framework, and we have a cooperation agreement with British Columbia already. We're looking forward to them with the other provinces. We will move forward.
Let's jump in on this.
Just things turn, please.
Of course, we agree around having a strategic response to the United States. But what I'm concerned about is what we're doing here in Canada. We are already seeing threats to our country in that just the threats alone of the tariffs have meant Canadians have lost their jobs. The threats of the tariffs that are in place right now, the impact of those tariffs is that we've lost jobs in steel, aluminum, and the auto sector. People are already losing their jobs. And while Mr. Carney, you had time, as you mentioned, not very long time, but as Prime Minister, you showed us your priorities. The first thing you did is you had traveled, you made a tax cut for millionaires, which was reversing on the capital gains. So you gave a tax cut to millionaires, but you didn't have time to increase the amount that workers get on EI. Right now, workers who are struggling and wondering, what am I going to do if I lose my job? Workers who've lost their job are saying, how do I pay my bills when EI only covers half of a worker's salary? Maybe 40 years ago that would have worked, but right now most workers are spending their entire salary just to pay the bills, to pay their mortgage and their rent, and to put food on the table. So EI is not good enough, and it shows Canadians that we didn't make it a priority to protect those that are impacted by these tariffs, that are threatened because their jobs are lost.
We have not heard from Monsieur Blanchet yet in this segment, so please.
Yeah, Mr. Carney, you are becoming a real Canadian leader, saying one thing in French and another one in English.
Boom! What did I tell you about bombs? What did I tell you about bombs?
Force oil and gas through pipelines through Quebec, either we wanted it or not. You would use emergency powers in order to do so. And 2 days later in Montreal, you said that you would never do that without the approval of Quebec. What's the point of using emergency powers if you do have the agreement of Quebec? However, I do agree with you. It's important to be very strong in front of Mr. Trump. However, I would keep the dollar for dollar policy. Don't be weak in front of Mr. Trump. And those counter tariffs have to be targeted. You
the guy who
have
doesn't
put
really
out
have to
already
answer.
$2 billion for Ontario auto industry, car industry, and the lumberwood industry in Quebec has already paid to United States $2 billion, and you have not raised one finger in order to help us.
Let's get from Mr. Poilievre and then a response from Mr. Carney.
Well, Mr. Carney refused to answer the question about pipelines.
What
Just the other
question?
day, he said that he doesn't necessarily think we need to build pipelines. Let me tell you what that
dodging
means.
the other question about tariffs.
Right now, the
all that
Americans
shit.
get 97% of our oil, 100.
And like Yves just said, like, you're gonna build a pipeline through Quebec without like our permission, though. Like, do you think that's really gonna happen?
And he's not answering the question.
Exports at big discounts. We have to send Canadian oil from Western Canada through the States just to get it back to Quebec because we don't have a pipeline. And now there's this law, Liberal Law C-69, which effectively bans pipelines. The 14 biggest energy and resource companies say it has to go if we're ever going to build another project. And I asked Mr. Carney why he would keep in place this anti-pipeline law that effectively empowers Donald Trump to have a total monopoly on our single biggest export. Why would you not repeal this Liberal law? Isn't it because you are exactly the same in the same line?
Is that better? Like, I'm trying to work on the sound here. It's like it's going all the way to nothing if I do nothing.
Let's get a response.
Well, that'll probably be easier for us to talk over.
Points that have been made.
We'll try not to talk over it too much.
I guess so. Yeah.
The carbon tax. That's the first thing. Second thing is made a commitment.
What a great idea.
I guess let's just be more diligent with
all
the
proceeds from our tariffs will go to workers and those companies most affected.
Here's the carbon tax.
There were several points.
Carbon tax. Oh, he brought it up first.
Interesting. I want to go back a little bit because I can't actually hear it now. But
Oh, sorry.
I
can hear it fine.
Steve, if I may address, I'm trying to do it quickly because several points raised. All proceeds go to workers and the firms most affected, and those proceeds are considerable. Third thing, I'm interested in solutions. I'm interested in getting energy infrastructure built. That means pipelines. That means carbon capture, storage. That means electricity grids. And here's how you do it. And we've already moved in the first month.
No matter who wins, pipeline's happening. Let's
like it's really just who can suck off big oil harder in this debate. And obviously the answer is Pierre, but like I think he's doing it too much. Like his nose is too brown. Look at that.
But the thing is, like, if people are legit, there are like a significant number of people in Alberta who's like, well, if we don't fucking get Pierre, then we're just leaving.
Okay, good luck with that.
Agreement.
You're from Alberta, aren't you, Hazel?
No, vaguely. I lived there.
Okay. What was the vibe there on that?
Well, this is actually fun because I grew up in Edmonton and I was a salesperson. And literally like I made percentage off of, whatever sales I did, but it didn't matter how good of a salesperson I was. It simply mattered whether or not gas prices were high. If gas prices were high, then I could just be like, hey, that'll be $200. People be like, here you go. And then if they were low, there's no talking them into it. So yeah, and very few of them actually worked in the oil sands. I think it was just a vibe. I don't know. I mean, definitely like a lot of it comes from, whether or not people had jobs in the oil sands or not. But yeah, I worked in this like new development that was basically just built for people who like worked in oil and gas. That like it was just prairie a few years ago, and then oil boom happened, and then it was an entire town. It was crazy. So that's my experience with it. But whatever, I don't know.
You're a federation. You need to cooperate with Quebec. You need to cooperate with the provinces. You need to get first.
At least he's talking to
nations and Indigenous people buy-in. You can do that through the one project, one review window that we put in place at that first ministers' meeting, as well as, if necessary, using emergency powers to fulfill the federal responsibility, but not the unique.
Mr. Poilievre, you want to come back on that?
What you're saying, Mr. Carney, with respect, is a total contradiction. The No New Development Law, C-69, guarantees there will not be one-stop shop because it requires the government of Canada to actually duplicate
So what Mr. Poilievre is saying is that have no rules,
project.
have no regulation,
have one-stop shop.
over any energy development.
We just got to let him finish his sentence.
Pollute.
Let's just let him finish his sentence.
Let big polluters pollute.
The reality is we should have
freedom.
strong
if you ask
rules
me, that's freedom.
enforced once. We shouldn't have multiple levels of referral that takes now.
So he's just going to interrupt him the whole time.
A major
Good.
project.
Why not? Go off.
That is why in the last 10 years
Go
we've
off,
had
Singh.
the worst economic growth in the entire G7. We cannot afford a fourth liberal term. We need a change, and the conservative plan for change will include repealing the anti-pipeline law so we can get our energy to markets other than the United States.
Mr. Singh, then Mr. Carney.
While these two compete about who's more pro-pipeline, I think what we need to do is, I mean, it's clear. The Liberals bought a pipeline. They built a pipeline. I don't know what Pierre is complaining about. That's what they did.
That pipeline was $40 billion, by the way. This is a $40 billion pipeline. It was supposed to be 4, and now it's 40.
I think what we need to do, if we're talking about energy in our country, we need to build an east-west grid. Let's use our power as a nation to build a national project that creates good jobs, that strengthens us for the future, where we connect the low-cost energy from jurisdictions and provinces across this beautiful land and have low-cost energy for businesses, for people, so we can build a stronger economy. That's the energy of the future that we need.
Mr. Carney.
3 quick points. First, the pipeline built, yes, TMX built. That's why oil exports up 50% over the course of the last few years. Secondly,
I don't think
Mr. Singh is absolutely right about the east-west grid interconnections, which is part of the energy corridor. Huge opportunities for this country. We have to be able to do more than one thing. Third point, fundamental point. We can give ourselves far more than Donald Trump can ever take away. If we have one Canadian economy, not 13, and if we just look at that agreement we got with
I encourage everyone to look at PP during the French debate. It was blatant how hard he'd been coached to smile the whole entire time.
This is within our
He's not smiling today, though.
What should we be prepared to concede in
our
negotiations with the United States?
English speakers hate smiling.
Something that Mr. Carney said.
Just the English.
You can't do something and the opposite, and you can't fill people's mind with nonsense. Quebec has, by law, its own environmental review institution, and you cannot, through a federal decision, even through a Quebec government decision, go over the BAP, as we call it. If the BAP says no,
just say
it's no.
I know.
Good.
I know,
Let's
but this
keep
is
that in mind.
This is the point. This is, if I may, this is the point. The federal government can do the following, which is to take the decision to abide by the decision of the Quebec BAP. That is within the federal government's power. That is known as cooperative federalism. That's what we need to do.
And do you understand one other point?
This is what we need. This is what we need to do in a crisis.
We have Moïse and then Mr. Poilievre.
Yeah.
It is so weird how it's like officially we're supposed to be talking about what would you concede to the U.S. It's like build some fucking pipelines.
It's crazy how immediately, wow, you know?
Yeah, Pierre just bought it. He's like, we're gonna just make the whole thing about pipelines.
Like, dude, I think that if he were less blatant about this pipeline stuff, he'd honestly be doing better in the polls. So maybe I should be glad that he's such a fucking obvious shill. But like, damn, Pierre.
Of those pipelines will take at least 10 to 14 years. Mr. Trump will be 90 years old.
He will be dead.
Not president no more.
He will probably be dead. He's probably be dead. He wanted to say it. He wanted to say it, but he's like, buddy, he's going to be 90. This guy eats McDonald's every day. I don't think he's making it to 90, even if he is God King of America.
Or you can even dream.
You should have just said it.
Yeah.
So this pipe.
Mr. Trump will be dead.
He'll be dead.
Okay. We're less than a minute to go. Mr. Poilievre, I promised you next.
Listen, after the last 10 years of Liberals blocking pipelines.
Did we say last Liberal decade yet?
We actually
yes, I think so.
No, we'll take that, yeah.
And our conservative plan for change will repeal the No New Pipelines law. It will create a true one-stop shop, set up shovel-ready zones with pre-permitting so that we can approve LNG liquefaction export plants.
Drill, baby, drill.
Shovel-ready zones.
Fine.
Yeah, that's drill, baby, drill.
Oh, yeah.
Nuclear plants and also hydroelectric dams so that we can generate the power we need to be strong, self-reliant, and stand on our own 2 feet for a change.
Last quick word to Mr. Carney.
Okay, quick word. Bringing it back to what we were talking about, which is tariffs, the threats to Canada, how to negotiate. We need these options. We need these
Bringing
options
it back to the
build
topic.
domestically, to build one Canadian economy. We need to act. We need to diversify our trade partners.
And that will give us strength in the U.S. That is our time. Okay, you know my job tonight. I got to be the heavy guy here every now and then, making sure everybody comes to time. And I'm keeping an eye as well on making sure that everybody gets rough justice over here.
Yo, Steve Paikin doling out the rough justice.
Hey, yo.
And our first debate up next, affordability and the cost of living.
Which is going to be about pipelines.
It's going to be about pipelines.
We're just going to talk about pipelines. More pipelines. We need more pipelines.
Lower your bills, build homes you can actually afford.
Il faudra parler des entreprises du Québec, des travailleurs du Québec, des aînés du Québec.
A big.
This time, many provinces, including some provinces with conservative governments, have ambitious housing targets, none of which have been met. Why do you think your housing plan will be any different?
Let me start by talking to the young people of the nation and those who are aspiring to home ownership.
To all the young crypto bros out there.
You could buy an average house for $450,000. But in the last lost Liberal decade, housing costs have doubled, rising faster than in any country in the G7. And so now our youth cannot afford a home, and our seniors are worried about being evicted. We can't afford a fourth Liberal term of rising housing costs. We need a change. And our Conservative plan for change will, 1, axe the federal sales tax on new homes. 2, incentivize municipalities to cut their construction taxes to bring houses down in cost by $100,000. 3, sell off federal land for homes. And 4, train up 350,000 young trades workers who can help build those homes. Because you deserve a home, and we're going to make it happen for a change.
Also on the issue of affordability, Mr. Singh, you get the next question. How do you bring down grocery prices in the midst of a trade war?
I appreciate. He's going to say grocery caps.
This is a big concern. When I talk to Canadians, they tell me they're really feeling squeezed.
He's been saying it. He said it in my video.
People tell me about.
Oh yeah, you interviewed him. What was that like?
He's such a lovely man. He's very charming. I definitely gave him a bunch of softballs because I was like, I'm not trying to have a fight here. I'm not a good debater, but it was a good, you know, we're both reading the same David Graeber book right now. So
which one's that?
Based Dawn of Everything.
Oh yeah. No, that's
a great book.
That's a great one. It's by two Davids.
It's yes, David's Wengrow and Graeber. But yes, fantastic book, and I couldn't believe it. He referenced it, and I was like, no. Graeber.
Did he reference Kandaronk? I don't know if you're at that part yet.
No, he didn't. But he did reference him making fun of Yuval Harari. Anyway, this is way too.
Yeah, too in the weeds. We gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
It's just ongoing worry and this.
Anyway, he's gonna say grocery cap.
The things that my family needs. On top of that, people are worried about the cost of homes. I think those are the two biggest things I hear. So we can do things about this. Other countries have taken concrete steps. We can put in a price cap on food essentials.
France
has done it. Greece has done it to great success. It's brought down the cost of food significantly in both those jurisdictions. We can also ban corporate landlords from buying up the affordable homes to keep homes that are affordable. We can make things better for Canadians, but it requires having the courage to take on the powerful corporations that are ripping you off, that are price gouging you. And we know that price gouging is one of the major reasons why food prices are going up. You're never going to hear Pierre Poilievre or Mr. Carney talk about the fact that these are the corporations ripping you off.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. That's time. Mr.
Blanchet, I mean, especially since his chief advisor is a Loblaw lobbyist.
Literally
a Loblaw lobbyist.
I don't want to be like a Jagmeet shill, but it's I don't know. That was a banger. What can I say? When it's a banger, it's a banger.
I understand you would like to expand it. How would you pay for that?
We would want it to be just for everybody because the Liberals have created a discrimination against elders which are 65 to 75 years old, having 10% less income from federal government than...
Notice how it's always, how will you pay for increasing in Social Security things? Anything that's giving money to people. Never the big pipelines, though.
How are you going to pay for the pipeline, Pierre?
You're going to pay for the pipeline.
Those who are over 75, but the best way to do it is to have everybody pay its fair share in terms of tax, which means that one should not be entitled to hide money in fiscal paradise in order not to pay
fiscal paradise
or his clients or friends, not to pay billions of dollars in taxes that could be used to help the situation of elders.
I would love to go to fiscal
those
paradise.
Those are things which are supposed to be applied to everybody. There are a lot of questions to be answered about that. Other ways to do it is to reduce the pressure on housing price, to make sure that the whole budget of elders and families and workers can afford houses which have increased dramatically in price.
Merci, Monsieur Blanchet. That's time for this one. Mr. Carney, I want to ask you about housing, which over the past decade has gone from a problem to a crisis while the Liberals were in power. Is your policy on getting homes built any different from your predecessors, and how?
This is one of the
oh wait, no, this is Mark Carney. Never mind.
Put a pipeline through that house.
Because of the cost of living crisis, the housing crisis, and the Trump crisis to help fix it. And I would look, the housing approach is fundamentally different because we need a fundamentally different approach. We need to build housing at a rate that we haven't seen since the end of the Second World War. We do need a fundamentally different approach. And with the fundamentally different approach, we can build an entirely new industry. So the question is how? Now, Mr. Poilievre and I agree on some things. Okay? I agree as well on reducing the tax on first-time home purchases as a way to buy. But I am focused on increasing the supply of homes and doing that in a way that uses Canadian technology and modular prefabricated housing, that uses Canadian lumber, including in reinforced timber, and uses Canadian, and in all respects, we're scaling
up. Gonna prefab those Canadian lumbers.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Why
Carney.
not? Just live in a tree.
Mr. Singh, you get the first comment.
I find it interesting how we have to here's a very a really complex topic of housing, and then it's just you have 45 seconds. Like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Many of you have pledged to cut the GST on many aspects of buying a home. And Mr. Singh, I want to ask you, would you cut the GST on anything else in order to make life more affordable?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm the only one on this stage that fought to give people a GST holiday. Interestingly, while the GST holiday helps working class folks.
Why don't we just have no?
He was responsible for the GST holiday. You don't want to claim that, brother.
I mean, it wasn't great. I'm one of who hasn't? Why hasn't anyone gone no GST ever? It's just gone. We can raise taxes.
Replace it with the carbon tax.
It's a regressive tax, and they wanted to do that in the 90s to replace it with a carbon tax.
Middle class.
I know because I saw your video.
Thank you.
The GST off essentials. The Conservatives under Pierre Poilievre voted against that. They opposed the idea of giving people, actual folks that need help, a tax break, and would rather give millionaires a tax break, which shows you whose side he's on, which is not surprising. But what is surprising is that Mr. Carney also said that giving people a break on their GST is a bad idea. Mr. Carney, why do you think giving a tax break to capital gains folks that earn more than $1 million is a good idea, but helping a family afford their groceries, helping people afford their bills for their internet, their cell phone, their home heating, giving them relief to take the GST off those is a bad idea, but giving a tax break to people who really only earn.
What's the proper way to say fiscal paradise in English? How? I don't know. Okay, fiscal paradise just sounds pretty good to me. 2 tickets to fiscal paradise?
Well, Mr. Carney, the reality is that housing costs doubled under the Liberal government. While Justin Trudeau made exactly the same promises that you are
We're not even listening to him. We're just showing Hazel's little, what is that, a teddy bear with a crocheted...
In fact, home building went down. He promised that he'd reduce the cost. In fact, it went up. And here we are. Mark Carney is asking for
a
fourth
muted.
Liberal term, repeating the exact same Liberal promise.
It's knitted.
House.
I got it when I first moved here. Oh no.
The Liberals voted against taking the GST off new homes, and they have continued to build up bureaucracies that block construction. We need a change so that you can afford a home, and our change will be, again, tax the sales tax on new homes.
Put the pipelines through the new homes.
Municipalities to speed up permits, free up land.
How many verb the nouns
is he going to hit? 350,000 young people who can be in the trades to build those homes and sell off the land that is going to be needed in order to build homes. That is a real plan for you to own a home and afford your life for a change.
Mr. Carney, they're coming at you from both sides. What do you say?
For change. I think it has to be he's just trying to get people hammered because he he got word that For a Change was going to be on the bingo sheet, and he was like, these motherfuckers are going to be slammered.
Oh, you spent years running against Justin Trudeau and the carbon tax.
I'm gonna go get some food. Give me a second here.
They're both gone.
I'll hold down the fort.
You hold down the fort. Make some jokes.
I'll let you know if anything good happens.
Person from Justin Trudeau. Focus is on results.
Were you his
economic advisor? How to drive results in the housing market.
It's just us now, guys. You know what I think we need?
Financing for housing
more
developers.
pipelines.
$25 billion on the table for those housing developers. $10 billion for deeply affordable homes. Cutting development charges in half, lowering the cost of the building of those homes by 20%, and lowering the emissions and the run costs of those homes by another 20%. This is how you drive affordability. This is how you bring young people back into the housing market.
Exactly what Trudeau and then Mr. Singh.
You claim to be very different from Mr. Trudeau. Now, the point is to show that you are any better than Mr. Trudeau.
What I miss?
You claim to have a lot of experience.
Very little.
Very little.
And you know things.
Just housing policy stuff.
They knew things. It was the senators, and they killed the law that protected supply management because they knew better than us and were elected by nobody, exactly like you are today. You
Burn.
say that you are
It's another bomb.
Crisis
Oh yeah.
Which one? I heard of nothing. As far as I know, Brexit happened, even if you were against it. You say you are a great negotiator. What have you negotiated but fiscal paradises and
fiscal paradise?
Fiscal paradises.
You have to prove something, and you have to reveal what you own in those companies if you want people to believe you.
Mr. Singh, you wanted to.
Yes, returning to the topic of housing. Now, it's very important. Obviously, we need to build homes that people can afford. Mr. Poilievre had the opportunity to show us what he could do. He was the Minister of Housing under Stephen Harper. And during that time, guess how many homes he built? He built 6 homes during that entire time. This is not something you can trust.
6?
Homes.
Not 6.
This has been confirmed again and again. He built 6 homes. That's
You can do it on your hand.
Now, the problem, though, with Mr. Carney as well, he's laid out a plan.
Banger.
The problem is that when he was the chair of Brookfield Investments, this is a company that
Hazel,
made a
you're telling me to
strategic
change the
decision
name of this show. I don't even know. It was like a default thing.
Homes in cities like Toronto.
Yeah, yours is welcome to our live show as a default.
They purposely bought those homes, kicked out the tenants, and jacked up the rents. That is not someone you can trust,
I think
sadly.
Singh's thing is definitely saying the word jack up. He said jack up in our interview like 15 times, and I was like...
He's pretty jacked, though.
First of all, Mr. Singh, the Toronto Star, the Toronto Star debunked your falsehood.
It was 6 homes,
and I appreciate neither Liberals or NDP are very good with math, but in that
year, whoa,
damn, that's pretty funny.
Let's let him answer.
In the year the year I was minister, we had 200,000 homes built, and guess what the average price of a home was at the time? $450,000.
Guess what happened?
And one bedrooms rented out for $900.
This is thrilling.
Since that time,
get his ass.
Actually doubled under the Liberals.
They doubled, and
now we have Mr. Carney making tens of billions of dollars of spending.
Okay, watching the Canadian leadership video.
Continue to build bureaucracy. We don't need more bureaucracy in Ottawa. We tried that for 10 Liberal years, Mr. Carney.
10 Liberal years.
10 Liberal years for a change.
It's like dog years.
And getting the government out of the way so that builders can.
He's got 3 things that he says.
Carney, you are on housing. We need to change.
Verb the noun.
You, sir, are not.
Verb the noun for a change.
I'm going to pick up on.
I thought
that answer was quite revealing. The first thing is that it's an attitude towards housing that absolutely ignores affordable housing, deeply affordable housing, issues with vulnerable people, ignores the rental market, ignores all other aspects of it. So the 6.
Is it gross that I'm eating a burrito while
Mr. Singh is
watching this?
Absolutely right. The 6.
I had a burrito a couple hours ago. I wish I had another one.
Part of the
no, eat a burrito.
On many, there are many Canadians at different
eat it vicariously
levels. The second thing it reveals
give me a bite.
Is misunderstanding.
Wait, is a vegetarian?
Well,
yeah.
I'll be polite.
Oh yeah, you're vegetarian.
Of
good.
Government's balance sheet can catalyze enormous private investment. And that is what we need to do to solve the housing crisis. It happens to be what we need to do as a whole to address the economic crisis that's been forced on us by President Trump.
Mr. Blanchet?
Yeah. you have spoken much more than I have, so I won't ask a question. I will make a
Bombs.
statement instead.
Bombs.
Just little knife jabs.
No, I'm not
Love
saying
'em.
that you cannot.
It just throws the bombs.
You know what? I'm voting block.
I'm saying quite clearly.
I think a lot of the
that
country
you
wish
cannot
they
be
could.
entitled to do it alone. You cannot be entitled to hold all
Not a
the
lot of people in
power
Quebec,
your
apparently,
two
but-
hands. You cannot go out there and fix things for Canada and Quebec without being seriously checked by serious people. You cannot go out there and speak for Quebec without Quebec having its own strong voice to protect itself and to promote its different economy. So if you want to collaborate, let's say right now that whatever happens, even if minority government happens, you will be a partner with the different Quebec economy and identity, which you have been not interested in for the economic part and not respectful for the identity part.
Let me get Mr. Singh in at this point. Can you tell us what the first thing you would do?
Canada and Quebec is on the bingo.
A lot of things that we can do, and I've laid out some of those things. I think fundamentally, I'm the only person on stage that not only fought for real relief for people in terms of affordability, I'm the only one that fought for pharmacare that actually makes life more affordable by giving people medication coverage, dental care that gives people more affordability by letting access their services if you're a senior and a kid. I fought for child
control,
care,
Jigmate.
so people could afford childcare. All measures that Mr. Polyev voted against, all measures that Mr. Blanchet voted against. So if you want someone that's going to fight for you in Ottawa to actually make life more affordable, you can't entrust all the power to Mr. Carney. He doesn't have a track record.
So you,
of making life
Hazel,
more
you're
affordable
now a
for people,
beneficiary?
but we do. So vote for a New Democrat, and we'll continue this work to make
Yeah.
life affordable for you. While the Conservatives and the Bloc have voted against those measures to make life affordable, because that's not who they care about. New Democrats are in it for you.
Pierre Polyev.
The number one expense.
Why do you think people are like so draggy on him? People, you sort of plummeted.
I
in the
genuinely don't know. No, I think it's I don't understand.
Your
I think
cat
it's just
Blue
the fact that
seems
he
to
worked
have-
with the Liberals.
Okay.
Blue's got thoughts, but
I can hear.
yeah, she's a little problematic, so we'll keep her away from the mic. I think that it's just because he worked with the Liberals, and people chalk up all of the wins that they got to the Liberals. They're like, oh goody, we get dental care and pharmacare and cheap childcare. Thanks, Liberals. And then they go, fuck the NDP for being a part of this clown show. But at least we got a few. I think that they chalk up the losses of the Liberals to the NDP and the losses of and the gains of the NDP to the Liberals. I think that's what's happening. And I don't know. I mean, also maybe, I don't know. I think, here's my extremely hot take. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this online. Maybe I'm going to get canceled. But I think that if he was a boring looking white guy like the rest of them, he'd be doing better in polling, which is such a bummer. But I don't know, man. Because he's getting so much flack that I just simply can't understand. I don't think that everybody who criticizes him is racist or anything. I just think that generally, the vibes-based votes would be swinging more in his direction. I don't know.
Democracy seems to run on vibes these days. And
it really does.
And people don't seem to like his vibe. And I think there's they haven't really taken the win on these things that
no. Well, he
and
certainly has.
People are also scared.
Anytime, yeah, even in my hella NDP riding, people are going, "Oh, I better vote Liberal just so I don't split the vote." Bro, it's NDP right now. You're not going to split the vote. Right. Anyway, yeah, people are scared. That's part of it for sure.
More than they spend on food, clothing, and shelter combined. This after 10 years of Liberal tax increases. We can't afford a fourth term of high Liberal taxes. And that's why Conservatives have a plan for change. And that plan includes
voted against every measure to help people out.
Cutting income taxes by 15% for the average worker and seniors, saving a working couple up to $2,000, rewarding hard work again. Because hard work is actually being punished. Because of the very high taxes. Now, the Liberals promised 10 years ago they would lower them. They actually raised taxes on 9 out of 10 Canadians. We need a change in this country because
how many times is he going to say change?
With a powerful
the changes
paycheck
that he's proposing are also not huge, right? I mean, they're like cutting taxes or whatever. I feel like, and he's using a lot of the sort of the lefty rhetoric. But if somebody comes in there and just yo, we're doing a UBI or whatever, or a negative income tax or something, I feel like that's like we're ripe for that in the moment, and I don't know why people aren't doing it. I don't know.
Affordable home.
So you want to save people $2,000,
and that's what we will deliver.
You want to save people $2,000, but cut their dental care, which is thousands of dollars.
False.
Cut their child care, which is thousands of dollars. Cut
False.
pharmacare coverage, which is thousands of dollars.
False.
That's not a very good math deal.
He sort of just smiles and he says
save
false.
people $2,000, but
Yeah,
cost
well.
them tens of thousands of dollars. That's why you cannot afford conservative.
Watching the French debate, he's just like, pas vrai, pas vrai.
Oh God, really?
And you certainly can't trust the liberals
Mark
on their
Carney's
own.
turn.
You need New Democrats.
Mark Carney.
I'm going to reinforce that point, and then I'll respond to Mr. Blanchet. Childcare in this country, $3,000 to $10,000 a year for a family, depending on where you live.
Province, jurisdiction.
Depending on where you live, that's what's being saved there. $800 per trip to the dentist. We've expanded dental
Province,
care to 8
jurisdiction.
million Canadians.
Because we
8
forced
million Canadians.
Because New Democrats were there.
Pharmacare.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
Jugby trying to take the credit.
Take the W. It's right. He's right.
Take the W.
This tiny shirt.
Who
Not what
are you
I've
making
said.
that for?
Me.
In terms of
It's going to be bigger soon.
For Canadians.
Yes, absolutely. Throughout the short time I've been Prime Minister, working directly with the Premier of Quebec, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, our Minister of Finance are from Quebec. Quebec and Quebec issues, whether it's
Why haven't you
climate,
answered Mr.
language,
Legault's letter? He asked 5 things in the letter. He reduced his expectations.
We're talking about.
And you did not even answer him. And tonight, you are so much in love with Quebec.
So much in love. We're so in love with
Steve,
Quebec today.
The question that Canadians have to ask.
Why vote for
Whether-
conservatives?
why-
We're gonna save
why-
$2,000
He's got the,
or cost you
Mr.
tens of
Singh,
thousands.
Mr. Singh, sorry, he has the floor. Yeah.
The question you have to ask is, after a decade of liberal promises, can you afford food? Is your housing more affordable than it used to be? What is your cost of living like compared to what it was a decade ago? And are
Well,
you
this is
prepared to-
it's giving me flashbacks to the Trump thing where it's like he has no answers. His only platform is just wait, can you pause?
Yeah.
It's giving me flashbacks to Trump because, like, you know, the Democrats weren't exactly inspiring, but at least they had sort of like, here's what we're gonna do. And Trump's basically only thing was, hey, are you better off now than you were when Trump was president, or are you worse off now? And then people go, I think I'm worse off. And then it's like, okay.
But that's like super convincing though. Like you.
I know. That's why I worry.
But I mean, if Trump's and any other one of those populist right-wing leaders is like a bellwether for anything, you get way worse off afterwards. But there's a lot of people,
like it.
Especially for the Trump people, it's like, oh yeah, no, I felt richer under Trump. Like,
yeah,
kind of get that.
The supply chains were good.
I kind of get it, but you know, I guess the egg prices made them fash curious or whatever.
Not fash curious. All right. Okay. Sorry. Continue. We got to get through this thing.
Here with you at this debate in Montreal, writing the talking points that you are regurgitating into the microphone. How can we possibly
fighting words?
Talking points says Mr. Change for a change.
5 seconds left in this
talking
segment
points
for you to respond
for a
to
change.
I do my own talking points. Thank you very much. The biggest risk we have to affordability, the biggest risk we have to this economy is Donald Trump. So first and foremost, we've got to get that right. Secondly, we need to do it in a way that brings everyone along together. That means preserving pharmacare, dental care, child care, reinforcing health care, spending our whole...
Take the W.
In Quebec jurisdiction over and again. I like if we're any better than we are.
The clock
Is there one thing Canadians can do that Quebecers cannot do? You are doing intrusions
Canadians versus Quebecers.
in our jurisdiction, with our money,
That's the whole
pretending
thing.
you are better.
True.
And most of the time you try to copy what we did with our own money against us. What's that as a policy? Don't you have your own things to care about?
That really is time for this segment. I wanted to be polite and let everybody finish their points.
I'm far beyond.
Quebecers are usually pretty progressive though. Like, you know,
you.
they're
Okay, that ends.
they're like they're much more keyed in. I find like they're much more clued in. All right, we can maybe fast forward a little
to
bit.
protect Canadians and to build communities that are safe.
Broader point though on guns.
Guns. Do we want to?
We have a problem with guns coming over borders, which is why we've tightened our borders. We have an issue with a gun industry.
That's the only gun I need, baby.
of assault rifles, mass killing machines.
These ones right here.
That and these ones. Pachow.
Time there has been a vote in the House of Commons on gun control. Mr. Polyev
can't control these guns.
Be tough on crime unless you're
I wonder if we skip ahead a little.
guns.
What do you think?
Polyev,
sure.
Notwithstanding clause.
Every murder.
I don't. Yeah, I simply just don't like. I don't think anybody cares about guns that much.
The constitutional powers that are
unless
created
if you're in the if you're a rural person,
mass murderers,
it's just like why is this gun suddenly illegal?
For life, they will only come out in a box.
That I already own.
Also pass tough new laws that prevent repeat offenders from getting out. If you commit 3 offenses under the 3 strikes law I propose, you will not be allowed out of jail until you prove
3 strikes
that you
in
are
your out rule.
drug-free,
That went really well in the United States.
And that you've learned an employable skill and you've served a 10-year sentence. We cannot allow liberal crime and chaos to go on terrorizing our communities. What we need is a real plan for change so that we can bring back the safety.
Where have you been, man?
Canadians.
Let me get Mr. Carney to respond
to
that. You think that's an
Canada,
appropriate
famously
use of the
terrorized
notwithstanding
every
clause of the
day.
charter?
I'm so fucking terrorized right now.
Yeah, we have some of the lowest crime rates in the world.
Prime Minister, is to defend the fundamental rights and liberties of Canadians. And those fundamental rights and liberties of
Trolls,
Canadians
oh nice. Just came across Hazel the other day. It's decided to be finding some quality Canadian content.
43 years old, literally today. I think it's a very dangerous slope to override judgments of the Supreme Court of Canada. In fact, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms exists to protect Canadians from people like us on the stage.
Whoa.
Politicians who may use their power.
Ooh, that's going to go well with the Conservatives for sure.
Using by the federal government. I'll stop here.
I think there's a thing that people not a lot of people understand. The notwithstanding clause, which hasn't been used at the federal level, notwithstanding clause is basically a get out of unconstitutional jail free card for like a number of things. And like if somebody with dictatorial tendencies can just like start using it willy-nilly, like it could functionally be game over for the country.
I think that also everybody who's like looking at Canada looking at the States being like, yikes, they do not want to hear from a guy who wants to use the notwithstanding clause right now. Like I like we should be absolutely clinging to democracy at this point, not going, I'm going to use the notwithstanding clause to put people who are bad in prison. Hold on.
A thing that we already have the power to do. Like we already have like dangerous offender stuff. Like this is not a real issue. But like as soon as somebody like if Trump had the notwithstanding clause in the United States, things would be way worse, way faster. I feel like
is not where you start, but where will you stop?
Mr. Polyev, I should get Mr. Polyev on that. Is it a slippery slope if you use it in this case?
I must say, I would be quite interested too, because Mr. Carney said that he didn't want us to use the notwithstanding clause before adopting the law.
Uses it
and
all
yesterday
the time.
He said that he felt that it was wrong to use the notwithstanding clause after a law is adopted. So if we cannot use it before and we cannot use it after, it means that Mr. Carney believes that we should never use it. But it is very important. And the Ford case made it clear. The Constitution says how it should be used, but never how or what we will do with it, because it's the prerogative of the provinces. So do you want the Supreme Court to overrule another judgment of the same Supreme Court because you don't like it? Because that would be being the hell of a politician as you define them.
Well, let me
more bombs.
First of all,
more bombs from
Yves. Let's not let Mr. Polyev get away with making this ludicrous claim that anyone on this stage thinks that violent crime should get a less severe penalty. Obviously, that is not a special position that he's taking. Everyone agrees that horrible crimes should have.
It's just banger after banger.
Are equipped to do that. Don't let Mr. Polyev's rhetoric.
Isn't it crazy that bad crimes should have more severe punishments?
They should pay a horrible price for it. There should be appropriate sentence that's put in place by a judge. But what I'm concerned about is all of what Mr. Polyev is talking about is after the fact. Now, there's heinous things that happen, and there needs to be severe penalties put in place. but we also need to keep communities safe. And that's what my focus is. Well, how do we stop crime before it happens? Much of the violent crime that's committed is committed by illegal handguns and firearms that have come across the border. Now, Mr. Poilievre has admitted that as well, that it is illegal handguns and illegal weapons that are used.
Maybe we should build the wall.
So our plan is let's stop those illegal weapons getting into our country in the first place. And the way we do that is by having stronger border security officers and having more people.
It would be good for the economy. We'd build.
Pierre Poilievre,
it's a big public spending.
So many jobs.
So many jobs building that wall.
They reduce the number, weakening our borders.
Keeping an eye on time
can't
here.
trust them.
Let's get back to Mr. Poilievre on the issue of whether in using
If this whole influencer thing doesn't work out, I could get a job laying brick.
And encourage politicians to use it more.
With all the guns we have. These brick laying guns.
Interested in the rights of victims. Mr. Carney seems to be very interested in the rights of criminals. He says that it's dangerous for me to ensure that mass murderers stay behind bars.
Did he just imply he was a criminal?
You know what's dangerous? Turning them loose on our streets. I don't think you appreciate, sir, the chaos that is unfolding in communities. In Toronto right now,
someone
the police
robbed
have
a
been forced
Costco.
to tell people to just let the thief steal the car. When they break into the house, just take the keys. Just let them take the keys so that you don't get hurt. People are living.
This is such a Trumpism.
Yeah, that keys thing happened. First of all, it was a stupid thing the Toronto police said like 2 years ago, first of all. Second of all, the reason why that's happening is because Hyundai made some shitty fucking cars that were so easy to break into.
Precisely because of the catch and release bail law, C-75, which requires judges release the accused at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. Every single member of your Liberal caucus and your Liberal cabinet voted in favor of this bill, and they are all determined to keep it in place despite constant promises to the contrary. Mr. Carney, Canadians deserve to live in peace and security. That is the right that I'm fighting for a change.
I'm fighting for that as well. And let me be specific about two things that have been raised. The first is with respect to these issues of car theft, home invasion, and I'll use the GTA area where there has been sharp increase. How do you attack that? You attack it several ways. One, you increase the criminal penalties for that happening, particularly if you're part of a gang, particularly if you use a firearm.
And you will do that?
And we're doing so. We've committed to doing so. You put in place a reverse onus in terms of bail so that it has to be proven that there's not a risk, which we've also committed to. And then you go to what Mr. Singh was talking about, which we have to reinforce our frontiers. That's why we're committing to an extra 1,000 Canada Border Service agents, an extra 1,000 RCMPs. That's why, as part of the broader fentanyl initiative, where we've added to the RCMP there, we've added drones, we're adding helicopters, we're adding surveillance, and we're going to the other end of the chain with respect to car theft, which is tightening security at the ports. This is what we need. In order to get results, you need to focus at both ends of the chains in federal.
Thank you very much. I want to talk about one of the issues that has come up is the idea of the public safety concerns around the overdose crisis and how this is devastating our communities. We're seeing so many lives being lost. In that, we know that one of the ways to address that is by investing in some of the solutions like mental health services and rehabilitation services. Services keep our communities safe, having access to those good services. Both Mr. Carney and Mr. Poilievre are proposing cutting government spending and cutting those services. That's not going to make our communities safer.
But we can replace them with more cops.
More investment in mental health.
We
need to respond.
We're going to
to
1,000 RCMP officers to
crisis in our country with care and compassion.
Stop people from overdosing.
An organization of moms that have
they gotta have guns to apply that Narcan.
Literally have died because of this, and they're saying we need to do everything possible to save lives, to stop this death from happening. And I think we need to listen to those moms, and that's my commitment.
Mr. Blanchet.
Two things as rapidly as possible. First, we believe that we should act on crime gangs and organizations, defining them as we do for terrorist organization. We have to protect our kids from the violence of those gangs, from the drugs being sold by those gangs, from the
gangs are terrorists now?
Whatever else being sold.
I don't know, man.
This whole section is really giving like fashy light vibes to me. Like, oh, you guys don't want to be like America, but we need more cops.
So by those gangs. And we mostly have to protect our kids from being recruited by those gangs, becoming violent at 13 and 14 and 16.
Is this happening enough that it should be that big of an issue? I'm genuinely asking.
I mean, I know people who used to run in gangs and shit, but it's just
this is a very dangerous situation.
They don't do it because they have good prospects.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's like they don't
do it because it looked cool in high school.
Well, they actually no, they kind of do. It's just like they don't do it because. Sorry, what I meant to say is like they're doing it because this seems like the best thing to do for them, and it's like, oh, I got to have money, and I'm like 16 or whatever, and it's like anyway. There's lots of
only gang members I know are in LA.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know enough about that shit to really have an opinion about it. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit.
After the last decade, we had 116% increase in gun crime. We need to lock up the criminals.
I got to hold you to 10 seconds. Mr. Carney?
Well, we're in a security section. I think we didn't have a chance to talk about anything internationally. I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
China, you say? Yeah. Mr. Singh?
Not the U.S.
Not the U.S., huh? Or Russia.
Not the U.S.
I'm surprised on that one.
Services that would make our public safety and security even worse.
Last word to Mr. Blanchet.
The fact that neither Quebec or Canada is able to protect itself, and that we are still dependent and entirely dependent on American to protect us.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, 100%.
Next, energy and climate.
Here we go.
Oh, baby. Here's where we come in.
This is our...
Getting things built, unleashing production.
We are unlocking major infrastructure projects, including in conventional energy.
First of all, energy and climate is one of those things where it's like, these should be, I know they're linked or whatever, but it's also just like, let's talk about the section of fossil fuels and actually not destroying the earth. Let's see if we can.
Let's see who's a bigger. It reminds me of the U of A, where the
is that the United States of America?
The U of A, University of Alberta, where the someone says G's block is looking best. Honestly, word. Like I'm about to learn French here. Where the engineering department is the Department of Petroleum and Environmental Engineering.
Oil and gas.
My cat is screaming.
Because your cat is named Blue because she is a conservative at heart.
She is. She always wants to watch Joe Rogan with me.
Let's be honest, all cats are conservative.
For each family to pay for the damages of climate change.
We can absolutely build important projects like an east-west energy grid.
Energy and climate change. I know how much all of you love talking about pipelines, so here we go.
We already talked about this.
Should we build new pipelines to get our oil to market?
Oh,
well, it's not a.
I got to get this in the background here.
There's not projects that are on the table, so it's not a specific
what are we looking at?
project.
It's mirrored. Oh well.
Oh, I can't. You're gonna have to explain what it is. It's tiny. It's a tiny little screen on my end, but yeah.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
My favorite when it comes to the environment, building an east-west energy grid that connects low-cost energy and allows for families to reduce their electricity costs. But let's put this all in context. We're talking about what our energy solutions are in the context of a climate crisis.
This is where I want the Greens to be in. Can you at least bring the Greens in?
Yeah,
just to give
let
a
them
little
in
bit
for
of an
this
opinion
debate, so that we
just
can
this
shut the
part
fuck
at
up
least.
So we need somebody to dunk on them for building so many goddamn pipelines, and then let them. Oh, it's not mirrored on your end. Okay, let them just talk for 5 minutes and then leave. Let them dunk on everybody else and then leave. Also, it's not mirrored on your end. This says the Petroleum Thought Crimes Division, Canadian Energy Center, protecting the minds of patriotic Albertans.
I fucking love it. I love it.
I love it so much.
Who made that?
I think it's from the Alberta Advantage podcast, but I'm not 100% sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Talking about a climate crisis in the far future. We're living it right now. I remember I met a mom a couple of years ago before I had kids who told me she was worried about taking her kids out on some days because of the forest fires in BC. It meant that it was unsafe for kids to go outdoors. Fast forward to when I became a parent just a couple of years after that, and I literally worry about the same thing. The forest fires we saw a couple of years ago meant that many places that didn't see this before saw days where there was such smoke in the air that it was dangerous for kids. We've seen extreme weather, forest fires, heat domes, floods impacting us. We've got to do everything we can to
Thank you,
protect our
Mr.
future.
Singh. That's time.
Yikes!
I know.
All right.
This is
now
one of these. This is one of
on
these
to
things.
pipelines.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, you
Sucking
know,
on that
children
pipeline.
children are getting asthma and choking, and 6 million people die every year because of fossil fuel pollution. But anyway, our 45 seconds is up.
Polyev, where does fighting climate change land on your list of priorities when it comes to expanding energy opportunities?
Let's see.
It lands within our priorities of bringing home jobs while bringing down emissions around the world.
Sure.
Look,
we'll talk about
this. That if we push production out of our country to more polluting countries, it actually makes the problem worse. That's exactly the liberal approach with the anti-development law, C-69, blocking of 15 LNG export plants over the last 10 years. We have seen more of those jobs go abroad. I want to bring, my plan will be to approve, for example, natural gas liquefaction and export. If we sent our gas to India, for example, to displace half of their demand for electricity, we could reduce emissions by 2.5 billion tons, which is 3 times the total emissions of Canada. That's the way we bring emissions down and jobs up. It's common sense, and now it's time to bring it home.
Okay.
It's common sense. It's time to bring it home. Stop the crimes. Build the pipeline. Carbon the tax.
Sorry, L and the G. Yeah. Liquid the gas. Liquid the gas.
I like that he goes, climate change is real, and that's why we're going to build more export facilities. Man, what the fuck are you talking about? This is why we need to stop calling it natural gas immediately. Yeah.
Did he call it?
Oh,
did
he didn't say climate change is real. He said it's in our priorities.
It's in our priorities. We'll have to remember that the Conservatives did vote a little while back to be like, yeah, climate change not real. It's officially not real.
Officially, it's officially they don't know yet. They declined to put it in their platform. But yes, officially they do not. They officially do not acknowledge climate change as being a thing. Fantastic.
So I want to just go over I want to go over this little point that he makes there, which is basically we can lower global emissions by having LNG facilities. Mostly they're going to be MBC, and we can export to Asia, like for example, India, as he was saying, and displace coal. And that maybe kind of works theoretically, but ultimately it's like the thing that India could do is leapfrog to a lot more clean energy that doesn't actually pollute at all. And just getting them hooked on gas is one of those things that's just going to make emissions much worse. Like they could go from coal to no fossil fuels for a large section of what they're doing. It's like it's sunny in India a lot of the time. It's like they have a solar potential. So this is definitely a scam, and especially for the fact that like if there's these pipes leak all the time. If there's like a 3% leakage, it's worse than coal.
Yeah, it's funny that they call it a bridge fuel, where it's like, oh, it's a bridge to cleaner energy. It's a bridge from coal to something else. Because it's like, they really do have a bridge to sell you.
Yes, and it's a bridge to nowhere.
Yes, a bridge to nowhere.
Should we keep going?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I have a lot more to say, but yeah, let's go.
I mean, we're keyed up. This is where we're
gonna yap. Sorry, gang. This is our thing.
This is our thing.
The next question is for Mr. Carney. How would your government fast-track pipelines and mining projects while
pause.
Yeah.
What? He didn't even get to answer the original thing about climate change. Immediately pipelines. He didn't get to say, because he goes, "Hey, conservatives, do you care about climate change?" And then Pierre gets to be like, "I guess so," but they didn't even ask Carney. They just go, "So pipelines? What the fuck?"
How are you going to fast track them pipelines? That's why it's energy and climate.
How is fast tracking these going to help? They're owned by Americans. I'm going to throw this fucking thing.
First of all, let's just pause. Let's take a little moment to look at Carney's face right now. This is how I feel.
He's saying what we're all thinking right now, for sure.
Oh boy.
that requires consent of Indigenous communities?
Well, I think the first thing, and this goes back a bit to where we started, which is recognizing that we are in a crisis. We need to act with maximum force.
Sorry, you asked me to pause?
No, I didn't. Yeah, never mind. I have nothing to say.
So the question was, just in case, because I kind of got... the question was, how are you going to fast track pipelines when you're going to be going over all that indigenous land? And maybe the answer, we'll see. Maybe the answer is going to be what they did with the Wet'suwet'en, which is just beat them off their land. But
yeah, just send the army in there to fucking
send those extra 1,000 RCMP you hired.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. But he's the climate guy.
Yeah.
And having a process and a consultation, but a consultation with a purpose, which is to identify those projects, those investments of national interest that are really going to move the dial in terms of growth, jobs, energy security, well-being consistent with long-term competitiveness, which necessarily means lower carbon. And so part of that process is ensuring that First Nations, Indigenous peoples, are there from the start. It also includes...
They have been here from the start. That's the whole thing.
I think he just means in terms of like including them in the consultations.
I know.
As opposed, you're right. No, you make the absolute point. Making sure that they're there from the start. Literally, they got here before you.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I know you. I can tell. Like you've got to tell on when I've gone on too long. So I'll finish up. Which is
Steve Paikin is going. You got to tell Steve.
We're doubling. Our proposal is to double the Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program to $10 billion. What does that actually mean? It means an ability for them to invest equity in those projects and be full partners. Thank you.
So this is actually something that I would love to hear from people in Indigenous communities on. It's just like, what if they just paid you more? What if they just gave you more money on this? Like, would that? I mean, money's good, right? Like these projects are a big fucking investment. They're paying $10 billion or whatever it is, like the $40 billion for a pipeline. What if they just got you some? Does that change things? I don't know.
I'd also like to just read a comment I got out, which is from Aurora Borealis, located entirely within my studio. Aurora Borealis says, I stumbled over that. I don't know. They say
Steve Hams.
Sorry, my brain's melted. The Libs and the NDP might approve the pipelines, but the Conservatives would roll the tanks in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of true.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I mean, Wet'suwet'en that's in BC, so maybe not. I don't know. Whatever.
My clock is at 0, so that's how it goes. Monsieur Blanchet, do you still oppose pipeline construction in Quebec, even though a majority of Quebecers now apparently say they support it?
We will know about that when we have held the debate about that, which has not begun yet. We are just beginning it. First, we are...
Just his buttery voice. Huh? His buttery voice. Oh.
Are hearing very creative numbers, and we are being nonsense.
Bombs! Bombs!
I love him!
He's just throwing bombs.
Trade, commerce is from south to north or north to south, and it's true in Quebec also. In a little more than 3 years, Donald Trump won't be in office, and there will be not one more pipeline having been built once we get there. So let's be serious, responsible, and we will be back with the numbers. We don't want to pay in Quebec for such monstrosities, which will provide us with nothing.
Yes, I'm voting Bloc. I'm voting Bloc. Who's the Bloc candidate in Victoria?
It could be you.
We all gotta learn French. I'll learn French.
We gotta learn some French. I mean, he makes the point. Like, if these things take 15 years, that's gonna be 2040. Oh my god, 2040. And we're supposed to.
How are we supposed to go net zero by 2050, dog?
No, it's just
We now move to open debate, and you all will get a chance, or have had a chance.
Such
to get
monstrosities.
Monsieur Blanchet, it is your turn to get the first.
I'm learning French. I'm going to do it.
A substantial supply of critical minerals.
Add me on Duolingo.
Are you in favor?
Hell yeah.
These minerals to be mined?
Of course, it has to be done properly. Quebec has probably the most important clean phosphate reserves in North America. In Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, it is very important. It has to be exploited. This is the best way to use Paul Saguenay as an infrastructure that we need. We have lithium. Everybody needs lithium. Transportation has to be taken from oil to clean energy. This is what we want to be working on. It is part of the specifics of Quebec economy. So we are in favor of that, but we don't want to pay for the $30 billion which have been spent on oil and gas by the Liberals last year. It's $7 billion from Quebec. We don't want to pay for the
talking about
subsidies
subsidies
which have been spent by the Liberals on Trans Mountain. It's $9 billion from Quebec. Those are $16 billion of which not $1 has been spent in Quebec to develop a lot more power and wealth for Quebecers with our own money.
We need.
Yesterday on the French debate, Carney was asked, how do you feel about oil and gas subsidies? He's like, yeah, great. Yeah, like I'm far. Yeah.
To let the leader of the
course.
Liberals respond.
Well, actually, I was going to pick up on the enormous opportunity that exists in Quebec, exists in Ontario, exists in the north of Canada, really exists across this great nation in terms of critical metals and minerals. We are have one of the biggest resources in this country. And it's not just an enormous economic opportunity, it is a strategic opportunity for Canada. So we have to make a decision, not just to develop it, but how do we develop it and who are our partners for it? Do we become more dependent on the United States, which is what they want? By the way, President Trump this week said he might put a tax on critical metals and minerals, just showing again
the job is not
and so the discussions
to negotiate.
If I may finish.
Let him finish.
Let me finish. So the opportunity includes in Europe and includes in Asia as our partners. Last point. In order to get it done, we'll put in place a first and last mile fund. So these projects are connected to road and rail so they can go quickly to market. And we will have all of the other fast tracking measures in place that I talked about earlier in terms of capital, timing, approvals, so that we can move quickly, we can be stronger at home, better.
Always with the approval of.
Why are we always focused on what resource to exploit, and we're the people who have the thing, but we don't develop the thing. We send it to someone else to do the value add. We're not diversifying. That to me is the thing that no one is talking about. It's what we have apparently an educated populace, and we're just we're gonna just dig out the fucking thing and then let somebody else do the hard work of turning it into something useful.
Interesting. Very good point.
I don't know. Thank you.
Yeah, I also feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. Wasn't this supposed to be about climate? All right, whatever.
Well, critical minerals, I suppose, are part of electric cars.
We should absolutely take advantage of the fact that we've got incredible amounts of critical minerals in our country. And the way we do that is with any energy project or any project of this nature, make sure it's got the local community buy-in. It creates good jobs in communities, make sure we are meeting all our environmental needs, and we work with Indigenous partnership. And so I absolutely agree with that. I want to build on something Mr. Blanchet mentioned about the investments that this country has made. What I found very troubling is that the past number of years, the Liberal government record is one where we have spent the most subsidies compared to any other country in the G7 on subsidizing oil and gas. These are
Thank you.
I think that's the wrong thing to do. We fought against it again and again.
No, you voted
and then
for
the
it.
Liberals have continued to do it.
What?
So my question,
Whoa, bombs.
will you commit to ending oil and gas subsidies? We should be using that to invest in people, not giving it to highly profitable oil and gas companies.
Yeah, we talked.
I promised Mr. Polyev the next.
No, I want to hear the answer.
Mr. Polyev.
Well, Mr. Carney, you point out that Donald Trump has a wrong-headed idea of putting a tax on our mines and our industry. And that is wrong. But so do you. You want to apply a massive industrial carbon tax on Canadian mines.
Here it is. Here it is.
Canadian aluminum plants.
You want to let them
Canadian oil and gas. And your idea is to double the tax that Trump is applying by hitting them a second time. This will do nothing for the environment. It will actually ship our jobs south of the border,
So Mr.
just
Pollier's plan is let
like
them pollute as much as they
President
want.
Trump
Not a good
wants. My plan is to bring that
Oh,
production
Jigmeat.
here to
My
Canada.
man.
For example, I will give a tax credit to low-emitting Canadian industry like Quebec's aluminum, for example, or British Columbia's natural gas, so that we not only bring home the production, but we do it below global average levels of emissions, so that we actually help the environment while bringing home the jobs for our people at the same time. That is a sensible, pragmatic approach that puts us in charge of our economic destiny, so we can stand up to the Americans from a position of strength for a change.
For a change.
Just verb the noun for a change. Verb the noun for a change. There's this weird thing that people talk about energy security, and it's like energy security to ship our energy elsewhere. It's a weird little thing that I just noticed where they're like, yeah, we got to talk about energy security, but we're like shipping it to Asia and Europe. Okay.
I want to give you a chance to speak to Mr. Singh's criticism about oil and gas subsidies and Mr. Poilievre's criticism about the industrial carbon tax.
Okay, I'm going to make 3 points. I'll make 4 if you want me to respond to that, but I want to make 3. The first is that I answered this question last night, but I think the puck had already dropped in the Canadians game. So everyone heard it. Yes, end to oil and gas subsidies.
That's why you need new Democrats.
Secondly, I would have done it independently. Secondly, recognizing that the biggest component of that was the cost of building Keystone. Keystone, which is the pipeline which has helped to increase oil and gas oil exports rather by 50% in this country. That is an asset of the people of Canada. We own it.
He's actually thinking of Trans Mountain, but that's fine.
And the question, what to do? It's not a subsidy that has disappeared.
Yeah, Keystone was canceled, I thought.
Yeah. Keystone always exists. It's the XL that got canceled.
Oh, right, yeah.
In terms of the gas industry, particularly the oil industry, wants to and needs to go, which is to become low carbon in the production and transportation of oil. One of the big projects we need to move forward.
We're not even pretending that we're phasing it down anymore, eh?
No, we got to grow it as big as possible and make it as carbon capture as possible.
Oh, folks, we are not making it to 2050, y'all.
We got to build that giant industrial greenwashing machine.
Dog, look at my Liberal Party. We are not making it to 2050.
Chat, are we going to make it to 2050?
Capture and storage, the Pathways project, so that we have
Pathways Alliance buddies. Pathways Alliance buddy.
10 years from now and 20 years from now, as the world uses less, we want to have more market share. We need to do that. And my government will move that.
But by definition,
I don't think people understand just how crazy hard and expensive it is to take bitumen out of sand. I feel like, just for the people at home, I have some Alberta oil sands right here that I keep with me at my house.
Why?
Because it's very special. It's like, it's a thing that I keep around, and like you have to. It's basically, think about like trying to remove Coca-Cola from beach sand and like be like, yes, and sell it and put it in a bottle and be like, yeah, this is going to be a great product that people are like. And it's tar. It's literally tar in sand. And then you have to like make it into actual synthetic crude, and then somebody else has to go and ship it to like a refinery and then do stuff to make it usable. And it's like, yeah, it's just the price for oil that has to be around for, like, that has to be like
it has to be really high.
It has to be really high.
And the fact that they keep going on about how Canadian energy is so damn clean, it's like the tar sands are, I think, one of, if not the, I'm pretty sure it's the dirtiest like oil in the world. Maybe it's what did you say? You told me once it was like 5 for every 5 barrels of oil we produce, we burn 1 barrel of oil to produce it. Is that right?
It can actually have, so it's a return on energy investment, and depending on the process that you're in, because there's different ways of doing it. Anyway, sometimes it's like as low as 3 to 1. It's like burning 3 barrels of oil to get 1 barrel of oil.
3 to 1. Oh,
sorry,
wow.
one barrel of oil to get 3 barrels of oil, rather.
3. No, I said 5, and I was like, that's pretty heinous. No, it's 3. God damn.
It can be as low as. There's other. Anyway,
okay.
It turns out oil extraction is highly technical and very hard. And to be honest, very impressive what they do out there. Not going to slag the workers, but it's just, let's just be realistic about what this is.
Pipeline. I'm talking about subsidies that go to oil and gas companies.
Yes.
and gas companies. That's what I'm talking about.
The figure you quoted last night included the cost of the pipeline.
Do you want to address
billions
his
of
point?
dollars are spending. We got to stop spending.
Sorry, can we get you to address his point about the industrial carbon tax?
How much will the industrial carbon tax add to the price of a car?
So the first thing I want to say is we have.
That's an impossible question. You can't really. If we had an industrial carbon tax, then maybe it just means less profit for the oil and gas.
That's
company.
up to the car companies, dude.
Yeah.
To address the broader point.
It is interesting how they also just moved the goalposts so fast. It was like, axe the tax. It's like, okay, they did it. Move to the next one.
Axe every tax until there's no government left.
Plan
seems to be the plan.
Which, by the way, is going to put our industry and our country at a disadvantage as we're looking for new trading partners. Guess what? Most people want to deepen our partnership in Europe, in Asia. Those countries care about whether or not you've made progress. Second thing is, we're designing a program so that the big polluters pay Canadians at home for making responsible climate choices, for retrofitting their home, getting their emissions down.
Are we actually going to do that?
That
are we? I don't know.
Are we? Are we going to get the big polluters to pay?
For Canadians.
Pierre Poilievre.
Or does that just poll well, and we're not actually going to do it?
How much
I don't know.
would
I'm curious to see.
An industrial carbon tax on Canadian steel add to the price of a car? He won't answer because he knows that it will be very expensive because there's lots of steel in cars. Now, well, Mr. Carney has temporarily.
There's also electric arc furnaces that can make steel without a whole bunch of coal and whatever. So
he won't answer because he doesn't
Canada.
have the number right in front of him right now. Why doesn't he have it?
What's the 987th digit of pi, Mr. Carney?
He won't answer my questions.
Because he knows that it's anyway.
Thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars.
Making it up.
Extra cost.
Chugme, just like you're just making it up, bud.
When you add
That's
taxes to steel, you raise the price of everything that uses steel. When you add everything, taxes to the price. When you add the carbon tax onto the price of, for example, fertilizer, you increase the price of food. So while Mr. Carney has temporarily hidden the Liberal carbon tax at the pumps while keeping the tax fully in law and planning to raise it after the election, he's also going after a tax on our industry that will ultimately be passed on to you. After a lost Liberal decade of rising costs, we cannot afford a fourth Liberal term. We need a new government that will fully axe the carbon tax, increase the jobs that we have here in Canada, and bring down your cost of living.
Why does he say the so much?
Mr. Singh, I want.
Yeah, what's with him in the definite
Increase
articles?
the jobs. What do you mean?
Increase the jobs.
Stop the crime?
But it has to be verb the noun.
It has to be.
So it's rhetorical.
God.
Nick wants to know, where the fuck is May right now? Well, they got booted. First of all, the Greens did a boo-boo. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but basically they got kicked out for not having enough like people running, and they're just not polling very well. So they didn't meet the sort of criteria. They did meet it for a little while, but then they kind of basically admitted they lied about the number of people. Like they were like, well, we're actually not running in these places because we don't want to split the vote. And so the electoral consortium people were just like, you fucking lied to us. You're not going to play.
You can't play with us.
And it wouldn't have been May. It would have been Jonathan Pendo. And again, I heard interview with him recently, and like I do miss him on this. I think he would have actually had a lot to say that would have been very interesting. So that's a real shame.
I want to ask you, do you think climate change is still a priority from Canadians? You're out there. What are you hearing?
Oh, good question.
Absolutely. You speak to any young person, and they think, we're seeing climate crisis in front of us happening right now. You speak to seniors who say, we used to be able to live in our homes without air conditioning, and now we're seeing heat crises in communities that never had worries about extreme weather. We're seeing flooding. We're seeing forest fires like never before. We are living in a climate crisis. So Canadians are absolutely worried about it. As soon as we come into a summer, we start seeing those forest fires again. It's top of mind for Canadians because they're living it. They're seeing it. And I want those Canadians to know, Mr. Carney is not going to end those fossil fuel subsidies unless I'm there to fight back. Mr. Poilievre wants to let big polluters pollute as much as they want, poison our beautiful land, our water,
That's not true.
Air. He wants to let them dump into our oceans. I'm going to fight back and defend our environment.
Monsieur Blanchet, on the issue of whether or not people still care about climate change.
I think people should be kept very informed about climate change because we are in a very strange denial situation about climate change, which still exists and is very expensive. And I'm sorry to crash your party, guys, but you are telling fairy tales. Clean oil and gas is a fairy tale. Large-scale carbon sequestration, sorry, I'm French, is a fairy tale. It does not exist.
It's a fairy tale.
I want to exploit oil and gas, and if it were not a matter of pollution, I wouldn't mind at all. That's their business. Our own powerhouse in terms of energy in Quebec is clean energy. We are the best place in the world to achieve that. Our market is the northeastern part, Democrat part of United States. We want to keep our money to create wealth in Quebec for Quebecers. Let us be different because we can afford to be different.
Let me give. I will get to you because I said I would.
Bombs.
But
he just throws bombs.
Here and I want to give you a chance to respond
I love how
he's right, and he should say it.
Just brutally honest.
First of all, we do support banning. We want to ban the dumping of raw sewage into our waters. We want to hold large corporations to high environmental standards to protect our water.
Yo, okay, I'm so fucking sure, guy.
Do that by raising taxes.
If he does, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, did he say we want to do that by raising taxes, or liberals want to do that by raising taxes?
Liberals want to do it by
Okay. I was like, okay.
It's like we want to ban putting raw sewage in the water. It's like, do you know how what the plan is to get rid of all those tailing ponds from the oil, or basically the oil sands? It's just like they just have these giant lakes of toxic sludge. And it's like, what's the plan? Put it in the river slowly, maybe. We don't know. Anyway. Just thought I'd go into that.
Sending jobs overseas, as Mr. Carney is proposing to do. That has been the approach of the last 10 years of the Liberal government. What the biggest companies that develop our resources say is that we need to repeal the Liberal anti-development law C-69.
Nice.
The law Mr. Carney wants to keep in place. They say we need to repeal the industrial carbon tax and get rid of the Liberal energy cap. We need 6 months approval in order to take back energy security and energy sovereignty.
We can summarize that. He wants to conclude as much as possible.
Hang on. Last word to Mr. Carney in this segment, please.
Thank you very much. You know, I was born in Fort Smith in the Northwest Territories, just north of what the oil sands became. When I was born and when I was growing up in Edmonton, early days, it was a fairy tale, quote unquote. But you know what happened? Canadian ingenuity, Canadian engineers, Canadian governments, both the federal government and the Alberta government got together and converted this.
The worst pollution
if I may.
The
worst pollution in the world.
Please, let him finish his point.
That's the opportunity we have. That's the opportunity we have in carbon
Base
capture.
Blanchette right here.
In small modular reactors. That's the opportunity we have in hydrogen beyond. This country can be a clean energy superpower. My government will help deliver it.
And there is some fucking. It just feels so weird to me that they're building small modular reactors to work on the oil sands. Like that's the plan.
Yikes.
Like, we're gonna bring in a nuclear reactor to make separating this to separate the sand and the bitumen slightly cleaner. Cleaner.
What the hell?
Instead of powering people's homes or whatever, we're gonna do it to make that.
That's really dumb.
That is time for this segment. Gentlemen, let us go to our final theme, which is called Leading in a Crisis.
Final segment. Get me out of here.
Canadians know how to get through a difficult time.
If, at the end of the day, we end up with
leading in a crisis, Quebec referendum on the table.
Safer than it could
just trying to think ahead it.
Now is not a time for weakness. Now is the time to take back control.
Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves.
Okay, leading in a crisis is a pretty broad theme.
Canada play in the Middle East.
Explore many different avenues here. So let's get to it. Carney, you get the first question.
Should we join the EU? Yes or no?
Country in 17 years, and 10 of those years were under your party. You have pledged to get us to a balanced budget in 3 years. Question is, how?
So,
why do we love balanced budgets so much?
Put this in the context.
Something deficit myth.
In a crisis, you got to plan.
I was just thinking the same thing.
The U.S. actually does want to take us over. Secondly, you got to have a plan to build, and that'll include a fiscal plan, and I will get to that in a second. The third thing is you need to respond in a crisis with overwhelming force. You need to think big. You need to move rapidly.
Overwhelming force.
The things we've been discussing today are a subset of what we can and should do as a nation, and we can deliver. And government can play a role, but its role has to be catalytic. And so our approach is that we will slow the rate of spending. It's been growing at 9% a year, operational spending, program spending, away from transfers, into 9% a year. We'll slow that to 2%.
We're going to be talking budgets with overwhelming force.
On a small amount of capital spending by the federal government.
Who can be smallest government?
Enormous private investment up to $500 billion.
What happened to the Building Canada Homes like Crown Corporation thing he was floating? I haven't heard him talk about it here.
We talked about housing a little bit. They didn't.
Yeah, but he didn't talk about how he was going to like, you know, do the he's
have
done
the
this
government
whole
in
like,
the building in the business.
Yeah, yeah, he didn't really talk about that, and that for me is like my favorite liberal policy proposal. Is like, yeah, fucking do a. I don't think he specifically said Crown Corporation, but like something along those lines, to just like streamline and like, yeah, fucking for sure. But he hasn't talked about that, and I wonder why. Maybe it sounds too commie.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Because that is also one of the things I'm like, yeah, we should be doing this. Like we used to do it. We
did it in World War II, baby.
That was when houses were much, much cheaper. And maybe we should do the thing that was happening when the houses were cheap.
Yeah. But no, that's communism.
States withholds support from Ukraine going forward. Do you believe Canada should commit more to assist?
I believe we should continue to support Ukraine. Our party supported donating missiles that the Canadian military was decommissioning. We supported funds and other armaments to back the Ukrainians in the defense of their sovereignty. We also need to rebuild our own Canadian military because the Russians want to make incursions into our waters. We'll be buying 4 massive Arctic icebreakers. I'll be opening the first
from the US
Arctic base since the Cold War in Canada, CFB Iqaluit. We're going to double the size of the Arctic Rangers and fill the vacancies in our Canadian armed forces. We need a change to rebuild our military, which has been so disintegrated under the cuts and the mismanagement of the last 10 years. But we can have a change because we have the best soldiers, sailors, and airmen in the world, and they will have full backing from my government if you give me the honor of becoming Prime Minister.
I may come back to that one in the open forum because I'm not sure we got an answer about Ukraine on that one, but okay. Going on. Monsieur Blanchet.
The answer was yes.
We'll get more details, perhaps, as we go forward.
Aiken for Pankin.
Mr. Blanchet, given the U.S. trade war, should any talk of a referendum on Quebec independence be put on pause?
That one is easy. It will happen only after the negotiation is over, and that's a good thing. I want to say I support the idea. We must help Ukraine, but we also must help the civilians of Gaza, and we must destroy Hamas.
Bringing it in Gaza.
Organization. You know what?
Someone's got to say it.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be coming up next.
Okay.
But I can offer to be a partner, a responsible partner, a collaborative partner. If Quebec is respected in its differences, in its aluminum industry and lumberwood industry and culture and French language and values of secularity of the state, which is the price to be paid in order to have real equality, then if we are respected, we will be a partner, and then even Canada will be stronger in its negotiation against Donald Trump. This is what I am offering. Respect us.
Mr. Singh, I watched last night's debate. You seemed very eager to talk about healthcare, so let's talk a little more healthcare right now. You have made many promises on healthcare. If a province says to you, we'll take your money for healthcare, but not your conditions on how to spend it, what do you do?
We've got to negotiate. We can't be giving away money without clear conditions. We're in a healthcare crisis right now, and a crisis that is hurting people across this country. People are waiting desperately in line in emergency rooms for hours and hours. Seniors are waiting for years and years to get the care that they need for surgeries that would remove pain or help them deal with mobility issues. We're in a serious crisis. Healthcare workers are burnt out. They are overstretched. And what we're seeing is more and more privatization, and that is hurting our public universal healthcare system. So we've got to fight back against it. We cannot allow our public money to go to a for-profit private clinic lining the pockets of a rich CEO or investors instead of going towards care. We need to make sure that we are investing in solutions where care gets to people, not profiting those at the very top. And so that's my commitment. I'm going to fight to make sure we defend our healthcare against the threats of Americanization and privatization.
Okay, we now go to...
I'm actually kind of surprised that there's more, political hay being made out of healthcare, and especially Ontario just had a provincial election, and it's like, if you try to access healthcare here, it is brutal. It is fucking awful. Like, just trying to navigate that, and I just do not understand why. I don't know if it's like a separation of powers thing. Everyone thinks it's like the national government's responsible for it when it's actually the province. I don't know. Like, it's every province. I don't get it. Why are people not more upset by this? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at chat at the same time. Yeah, it is surprising that there's not a lot of discussion about healthcare. I mean, one thing that I find very sus is that our boy Pierre has not said a goddamn thing about healthcare. Like, he hasn't said whether he's going to privatize it. He hasn't said whether he's not going to privatize it. He said he wants to keep the pharmacare and dental care, but he only said that after everybody was like, "We like this," and he was like, "Okay, I guess."
Well, he also said that, I mean, he flip-flopped on that because he was also just like, this is like, he basically called it communism. It's like, that's dangerous or whatever, and et cetera.
He's like, they're trying to take away your private health care. And it's like, man, you sound exactly like Republicans. It is highly surprising.
Who's donating to his campaign? Oh, suspicious.
Oh, yeah, let's look at where he has his fundraisers, shall we?
And perhaps, Mr. Poilievre, you get the first word here. This might be a good time to put a little more flesh on the bone of what you think Canada could do for Ukraine if the U.S. backs out.
Yes, and my answer is that we should continue to support Ukraine. We don't need to follow the Americans in everything they do. When they're wrong, then we will stand on our own and with other allies. And with respect to Ukraine, that of course includes support with intelligence, equipment, armaments, but it also includes defunding Putin. Right now, Vladimir Putin has a monopoly on the European energy market because, frankly, the Liberals blocked exports of Canadian natural gas.
Here it is again.
The Atlantic coast.
He's bringing in the energy. He's bringing in the gas.
I approved those projects on security grounds.
Whatever, man.
I'm glad I'm not drinking at these. Jesus Christ.
I'm doing this instead of drinking.
Defund the war and turn dollars for dictators back into paychecks for our people.
Mr. Carr, you wanted to add.
Whoa, alliteration. He's getting more advanced.
Sloganing the shit out of this.
Canada's been a steadfast ally, and Canadians have stepped up, welcoming Ukrainians into their homes and supporting them in other ways. In my first month as Prime Minister, we joined the Coalition of the Willing to support Ukraine as the U.S. stepped back. So led by France, the United Kingdom, with Ukraine number European nations, Australia, ourselves, New Zealand. That's an example of how the new world is going to be. Canada participating in these areas and helping. It also means open trade. Mr. Poilievre voted against free trade agreement with Ukraine. It means aid for Ukraine. Mr. Poilievre wants to cut foreign aid, including for Ukraine, or not. He didn't mention support for aid for Ukraine. We have to stand by them. We have to be there, and this government has been.
Mr. Singh.
New Democrats absolutely support standing with Ukraine and will continue to do that. But I appreciate the opportunity in talking about leadership in crisis, talk about many of the crises that we're up against. And one of the crises we're up against in our country with the threat of Donald Trump, with the threat of the trade war, and with the privatization and Americanization of our healthcare system is the healthcare system. And what we have learned today, Mr. Carney mentioned slowing operation spending. That's a cut to services. He said his plan. He has a plan to balance the operating budget within 3 years. That's going to require massive cuts to spending. We calculated that at $43 billion in cuts. In fact, Rosemary Barton, when he was on the show on February 16th, he said we would cut spending. He said it would be in operations. He defined it as transfers in health. And finally, longtime Liberal and former House Leader Karina Gould said that Mr. Carney's plans would mean massive cuts. That's the only way to achieve it. So, Mr. Carney, you think it is leadership to cut health care at a time when it is in crisis? I think it is wrong. We can't do that.
We will not cut transfers for healthcare. We will not cut healthcare spending full stop.
But
we'll
Mr.
have
Carney,
a detail, if I may.
Who do we believe, Mr. Carney, today or the one he spoke on Rosemary Barton's show on February 16th?
I did not.
The one that repeated again that he would cut spending? Who do we believe?
If I may, consistently said we'll preserve all transfers to the provinces, including the increases. We will preserve all the transfers to individuals, I won't detail them all, but there. So we're looking at addressing an operational spend, which is about $150 billion. We will address that. We will make it more efficient, and we will do it in 3 years, and we'll balance that budget.
Mr. Blanchet.
I am 6 minutes behind Mr. Carney, so I will speak a little bit longer. First,
throw more bombs.
Go off.
Which will bring Canada aligned with Europe and NATO in order to be stronger and facing new threats. Good. I believe that 2% won't be enough. I'm not more in favor of war than anybody else, but we have responsibilities, and our main ally is removing himself from the stage. So we have to step up. We have to do our part. I want to go somewhere else.
Or they've turned heel.
I want to ask Mr. Carney, if we're speaking
Left
about
the stage.
here, if Quebec and Canada were to say, you are not being given a majority government, there will be more conservatives than you would like, maybe more New Democrats than you would like, and more people from the bloc than you would like. Will you accept, because you don't seem to be very eager about that, to deal with people which basically are more experienced than you are, as legitimate as you are, and would be more representative altogether than you would be being alone in your little kingdom? And I want to put you to
just keeps the little jabs
to you all guys.
So good.
The election, 1 week after the election, we all meet, whatever the result, and we start dealing with this crisis together, because this is what people, either they are from Alberta or Quebec or wherever, this is what people expect from us.
Mr. Carney, is that something you could get behind?
I look forward to meeting with everyone. You're welcome to come, Steve, if you'd like. Week after twice, but also, but in all seriousness,
that's not very respectful.
No, but I'll
that's
come.
Not very
but
respectful.
I'm coming. On peut jaser un peu. Okay, I will. Okay. I come to the.
On jase.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come to the core. Look, in a crisis, yes, you need a team, and you need to bring the country along with you. So what I did in the first week was to bring the premiers together, meet with all the Indigenous leaders, and move forward in that context. Now, the question is, who's going to lead out of this? Whoever leads out of this, if I may, Mr. Blanchet, thank you. Whoever's going to lead out of this is going to need to work with all the provinces, work with labor, work with Indigenous leaders, work with all Canadians to bring them forward in a united front. And if make this last point, one of the things that has happened, which is a credit to those people at home, is that Canadians are coming together. And it's our responsibility to meet the strength of Canadian unity.
Still lagging. I have one small point to make. Yep. You will be elected, if you are elected, in the parliament where
it's like everyone's assuming
leaders.
He's going to be the next prime minister at this point.
If he called you, but before yesterday, you have not spoken to me once, even if I proposed it so many
times.
He's
been busy.
I speak to provinces leaders. You're not elected in provinces.
Sorry, babe. It's been crazy. You know how it is.
Which might not always.
Baby, you know I was going to call you back.
But this is
Baby Blanchet, you know, you're my number one baby doll.
And you brought up Gaza.
You want to go? Oh wait, maybe we should talk about this.
In hearing your views on the other major international crisis.
No, we can't skip ahead.
I just want to get before we get that, just to finish up on the healthcare. I just want to speak to healthcare workers right now who are deeply worried about the status of our healthcare system. To Canadians who believe and love our universal public healthcare system. To patients who are stressed out. If you're worried about which Mr. Carney to believe, the one today or the one who spoke on previous shows and said
there's a whole bunch of Mr. Carneys in that room,
and we will fight to defend our healthcare.
I think your supporters would really like to hear what you have to say about this question, and we have less than 5 minutes for it here. What role should Canada play in the other major international crisis in this world, in the Middle East and the war in Gaza? Pierre Poilievre, would you
really tried.
What role can Canada play?
Well, first of all, we must condemn Hamas, and more importantly, the terror sponsors in Tehran who initiated the attacks the horrific attacks of October 7th. We need to defeat the terrorists.
Defeat the terrorists.
All the peoples of the world peace and defend the right of, yes, Palestinians to have their own lives free from the oppression of Hamas dictators and Iranian intervention, while Israel has the ability to live in freedom and peace. But I also want to say, we need to get back to the Canadian tradition, which is that when people come to this country, they leave foreign conflicts behind. The rampaging riots targeting Jewish communities is utterly unacceptable, and it points to the growing chaos that we see on our streets after 10 years of incredibly irresponsible liberal policies of weak borders, of dividing people into groups, of saying one thing to one group and the opposite to another, dividing and conquering. We must end that division and unite our people so that everyone feels safe, and that when we come here, we put our foreign conflicts behind and we put Canada
people,
first.
Mr. Singh, come from countries from around the world, and they care deeply about where they come from, and they should be able to do so. That's a part of being in our country, to have that freedom. Your treatment of Palestinians has been frankly disgusting. Your treatment of people who provide care and service for people in Gaza has been disgusting. On top of that, people in Israel and in Palestine deserve to live in peace and security. And Mr. Carney, to date, you've not acknowledged that what's going on in Gaza is now clearly become a genocide. It's important to call things out as they are.
So the G word,
Mr. Carney.
We need to work, to go to your question, we need to work with our international partners, maximum pressure, maximum encouragement for an immediate.
Is he going to say it?
Encourage the return of all of the hostages, resumption of humanitarian aid. My government put in place $100 million of humanitarian aid, which is ready to go. With respect to where this ultimately goes, yes, two-state solution, but it has to be a viable and free Palestinian state, living side by side in peace and security with the state of Israel. I will underscore one other thing. Mr. Poilievre rightly mentioned Iran, the Iranian sponsors in this region. We have to be clear-eyed about the fundamental risks of Iran and do everything with our international partners to check it and turn it.
Mr. Blanchet.
If we are to work together, we will have to be consistent. The Jewish community in Quebec and Canada is harassed by a very little minority of radical Islamists. And we don't do so much. The law in Canada says that somebody may invite people to be violent, to propose genocide against another people if they can be hidden behind a religious motivation. They are in agreement with that. They are in agreement.
Yeah, I think we are like 20 minutes behind. And I'm just wondering when we like jump ahead a little bit.
It is a crime
to
invite people to violence.
Maybe after this.
And this
it
is
feels wrong to jump ahead now.
Yeah, like this is. I am interested to see whether they're going to nut up or shut up about this.
This has to be changed.
And right now, I'm hearing a lot more about anti-Semitism than about genocide.
Elsewhere to change what they do.
Last minute in the segment, Mr. Poilievre.
This is about crises and leadership. And one crisis we
have
is in immigration.
Quebecois leader
because of
Canada
this liberal government's commitment to a radical policy called the Century Initiative, which seeks to bring our population up to 100 million people.
Base Blanchet.
They have allowed massive overcrowding in our communities. That has caused housing shortages, job shortages,
blame immigration
and healthcare
for the
shortages.
fault of your government.
Yeah.
I did not interrupt you. I did not interrupt you.
Don't blame.
I do not blame.
Your failures.
Let him finish.
I do not blame immigrants. I blame the Liberal government, which brought this policy on. And Mr. Carney wants to continue with the Century Initiative. This is crazy. We have to get back to normal levels of immigration, get rid of the fraud in the temporary immigration system, and ensure that the people who come here can arrive in numbers that we can house, employ, and care for. That's how it always was, and that's how we're going to restore
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre. That is our time for this segment. Those are our 5 themes, but we are
the
not
Century
done
Initiative
yet.
thing is
We
so
are
fucking weird.
Entering
like it's this weird like conspiracy theory, but it's
tonight,
also not
what
like
we're
there's like
calling the leader's choice.
It's like the WEF where they just take something that has kind of a weird name and go, oh!
They do want to have
reset.
It's like by the end of the century they want to have 100 million Canadians, and like the reason why they do this is because like there's just not.
So, Mr. Singh, you have the first.
We're not having babies, man.
It was just too many old people.
Mr. Carney, as chair of Brookfield Investments, your company is one of the biggest tax dodgers in Canada. As chair, you approved decisions where Brookfield Investments bought up affordable homes, kicked out the tenants, and jacked up the rates. As prime minister, one of the first things you did was a tax cut that helped out mostly
great investment.
millionaires. And you have a plan to cut services for people. Now, I expect that of Mr. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. That's very much a conservative plan. But my concern is that doesn't sound like what people want for a Liberal leader. So my question to you is, Mr. Carney, whose side are you really on?
Thank you.
Sorry, I
thank
wasn't
you very
listening,
much,
he says.
for that question, Mr. Singh.
I was vaguely listening, but I was also typing.
Yeah. So
he's basically
Carney.
just calling him a tax dodger because of Brookfield.
But your track record doesn't show that, though.
No, I have a track record of public service for this country. Going back to something Mr. Blanchet referenced earlier, which is have I resolved any crises? We're in Quebec. If you ask anyone in the finance industry, if you ask anyone in government in Quebec in 2008, they'll know that I resolved the biggest crisis in Quebec. Yeah,
did the whole financial crisis thing.
With Mr.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, I have.
I took you to financial paradise.
In the private sector.
Fiscal paradise, baby.
With integrity.
Fiscal paradise.
Brings me with experience that I can apply
no one's
in this
questioning
moment,
your integrity,
in moment
sir.
of crisis.
And you certainly have served the country. But the problem is, who have you served? You've served to benefit those at the very top. You jacked up the price of homes for people living in affordable homes as a strategic decision. You dodged taxes. And then your decisions as prime minister show you're not prioritizing people, but you're prioritizing big business, billionaires.
So what have we done as a government directly? So we've gone directly to workers using all of our proceeds from the tariffs, committing all of them for workers, the workers most affected in industries. Unlike others who plan to use them to cut taxes. We are
Mayor says, I don't know why the IDU and Heritage Foundation has never mentioned one.
There will be additional programs. I am fully confident that the next government, whatever government is formed, or certainly if I'm in the next government, we will make additional programs.
But you didn't do that so far, though.
Well, I can't. You couldn't. Well, you couldn't, given that we're in an election process.
Could have increased the amount, though.
May I make a core point here, if I may, which is that when you think about workers here today and people watching at home,
you don't want to skip.
Biggest younger people.
What do we think, chat? This is lame.
In the skilled trades, we are going to build this country.
I'm getting tired. Remember how we said
we go until tired. We go until tired.
I'm tired.
We got 5 minutes left.
Security clearance.
Oh, of the whole thing? Oh yeah, then we'll be okay.
Only country.
Oh no,
I thought we were 20 minutes behind. No, that's okay.
No, we are. No, we skipped ahead. We're skipping ahead. I think it's 5 minutes until the thing is done live.
Accepted the kind of gag order that your government.
So I think we got we got some good drama here that we can maybe want to see. The Carney versus Poilievre.
I have got my security clearance.
Oh, we got some security clearance stuff.
Oh yeah, I want to see this.
The next aspect, you look back on the Liberal decision that you began advising Justin Trudeau. It's still on the Liberal Party website today that you are Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. They might want to update your website on that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a rookie move. They haven't updated the website.
21.
Poilievre, when Poilievre's got one on you,
would be a sign of economic progress. And you advised governments, including Justin Trudeau's, your Liberal government, to print money, which led to the worst inflation crisis in a generation. Now, that means that mothers went to bed with empty...
printing money during an economic crisis.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That's
called quantitative easing, dog.
It was either that or everyone becomes unemployed. I feel like people, they never bring up the alternative, which is just let everything fucking collapse and go into a depression.
Yeah. Hey, Pierre, what did you want to do? Did you want to just shut down all of the businesses? What's the plan?
And
keep businesses open and let everyone who needed to die because the weak shall die. And it's the right of the strong.
And that would solve our overpopulation crisis, or not overpopulation crisis.
Our housing crisis.
It would solve the housing crisis because all of the old people with houses would die. It would solve the immigration crisis because right now we need to bring immigrants in because all of us are becoming old. Well, not so much if they all die of the fucking plague. Boom. We figured it out. We cracked it.
This is why you gotta teach free market economics.
That's what they taught me in economics school.
Yeah, let everyone die. Let everyone die
from their homes. That young people.
Economically optimal.
believe they'd never.
We got Pareto optimality in everyone fucking dying.
Yeah, well, we don't believe this, by the way.
No. This is all sarcasm.
You never know.
When people just come in, they're like, Jesus Christ, these people are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Just came in and they're just like, everyone should die? What the fuck?
First place. Now, in retrospect, you look back on the Liberal decisions that you advised Justin Trudeau to take. Will you look at the camera in the eye?
Oh my God.
Look the camera in the eye.
Who suffered as a result of the inflationary policies that you advised Justin Trudeau to
I watch.
Oh man, he's such a cuck.
What I'm going to say.
He's such a cuck.
I know you want to be running against Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau isn't here.
Are you denying
what?
What?
I did not provide any of that advice.
Is Justin Trudeau in the room right now?
That's really good.
Oh my God, Justin Trudeau isn't here. That was fucking hilarious.
Right. That's a banger.
Are you accusing your Liberal Party of lying about your role? Because it says today you can go to the Liberal Party website now, and it says that you were just.
Well, I'm going to the Liberal Party website right now. No, that's a waste of time.
The way you judge someone, in my view, is how they act, what they do when they have responsibility. Twice I was a central bank governor. And in both cases, if I may, in both cases when I was responsible for inflation, inflation was less than 2%. I'll add that when I was here responsible for the Bank of Canada, inflation was less than 2%. Our dollar was at parity. That is the kind of success that I can deliver for this country coming out of this crisis. And what is at stake here? What is at stake here? What is at stake here?
That gave us the worst inflation that we have had in a generation, because the policies that you implemented and those of the MPs that are still in your ministry.
To the
fellow Canadians,
crisis which
the last 10 years has been about the Liberals. The next 10 years should be about you.
And that
for a change.
Good news is the next question is yours.
Well, I'm going to ask myself a question.
He's going to ask himself a question, everyone.
Actually, I'm going to ask a question which has been troubling me.
He really gives like dad vibes, and I think that's what we need right now. We all need a strong father figure. Trump is giving us daddy issues.
He's a real dad, like banker dad.
Yeah. He's got absolutely zero riz, and I think that that's kind of working for him right now.
Urbo just said, Pierre Poilievre just said that he had received the security clearance, then that would have made him gay. Fellas, is it gay to have security clearance? Fellas.
And it's troubling me because
that's a good one.
We are in a very dangerous and divided world.
Who is it to?
I'm going to ask a question, Mr. Poilievre. Why not? We're in a dangerous and divided world. We talked earlier about the challenges in the Middle East, the threats from Iran, threats from Russia, Russia's aggression in Ukraine. We have the threats from China, which I raised.
It's aggression will not stand,
We have the United States, which is fundamentally changing its security relationships, its commercial relationships. We have all this. And in the context of that, everyone on this stage, Mr. Blanchet, Mr. Singh, myself, we have our top secret security clearance.
Ooh,
we have our top security
clearance.
I got mine within 3 weeks. It wasn't hard, but I felt it was important that I had it so I could be in a position to be informed about that dangerous world and take decisions at it. And Mr. Poilievre, it is now.
I guess that means he's gay now. I don't know.
Wait. Pause.
Yeah.
Since you.
Everyone with a security clearance is at least a little fruity, says K-Nate. Hell yeah, so true.
Look.
Does he have, security clearance?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Because honestly, if only the most insecure are the ones who are the most dominant and masculine.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're really not afraid of your masculinity, you'll get a little security clearance, just to try.
Let's keep it going. I'm secure. I'm like curious about my security.
Security curious. That's pretty good.
Security curious.
You're top secret security clearance, and you've refused. Why?
Well, first of all, I have got my security clearance when I was a minister. I got top secret clearance at the time, so there's no problem getting that. But when the government made this recent offer, they...
What a fucking weird fucking thing to say. It's just like, why don't you just do this thing? I did it 9 years ago. Yeah, but you need to know. The documents are neat. They're new. Anyway, go ahead.
Can confirm I'm buying a former government worker. And then, oh God, I saw another one that was really funny. Where did it go?
I'm actually surprised to see this one in this one. You can despise Pierre, but he's the best choice of the bunch. Okay, invisible hot dog coming in hot. Okay.
And you know what? He's here to represent the LGBTQ plus Canadians. No, I found the comment. You know, inflation. Oh wait, no. It's a little known secret that part of this clearance process is edging you to see if you talk.
Oh man. Just letting the fanfic write itself.
This is really good.
I got the secret security clearance briefings that I would be gagged.
What? He actually said it!
I could be prosecuted if
I
spoke freely.
I thought that was a joke before. Hold on. Hold on.
He said gagged. He said gagged. Gooped and gagged. Boots the house down.
Security clearance when I was a minister. I got top secret.
We're hearing this again.
So there's no problem getting that. But when the government made this recent offer, they said that if I got the security clearance briefings, that I would be gagged under the security law.
Wow. Okay, so that's why.
This
is why we're so far
now,
behind.
Given that
God.
Canada has experienced Chinese interference by Beijing, the government of China, in 2 consecutive elections, I needed to do my job to speak freely.
This is fucking homophobia. What's wrong with being a little gay?
No, man.
Aaron,
I gotta wonder if
said that
this
when
was like
he
one of
was
those
the leader of the opposition,
Freudian slips.
He never would have accepted the kind of gag
But who
order
cares?
that your government,
I just wish
Trudeau's government, was
I wish he just
gay order.
True self.
I sure wish it does. It did. I sure hope it does.
The liberals are gonna make you. They're gonna order you to be gay. No, don't make me be gay.
Oh no. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I can't believe he actually said that. But hilarious. Yeah, I mean, look, I just want him to live his authentic self. That's all I want. I just want him to live his authentic self.
Tempting to impose on me. And it's good that I made that decision because it has allowed me to speak freely about things like the case where one of your candidates, sir, actually said that he wanted to send a political opponent to China under a bounty threatening his life or imprisonment, and you refused to get rid of him. Now, it might have something to do with the fact that you went to China not long ago to get a $250 million loan.
The house down.
But the reality is you refused to stand up for a Canadian who was being threatened by a foreign government, and I was able to speak freely on that matter because I refused the gag order that the Liberal government attempted to impose on me.
Well,
the gay order.
I think people at home have seen a robust debate here, and it's been a robust campaign, and it has not stopped Mr. Blanchet or Mr. Singh at times during his campaign by making challenges with respect to these issues. So one can address it. I will observe, as someone with a top secret security clearance, that China.
Yeah, Pierre would like to observe.
Yeah, especially if he's a top. A top secret security clearance, I mean.
Is accused of foreign interference.
And gentlemen, that is time
we'll leave it at
segment.
that.
We're leaving it there, fellas? Okay.
Are still a few minutes down the road.
Put it down.
Time for some quick.
Singh's got 10 minutes to make up. Singh's been done dirty, I think.
Damn.
Look at
Let
that.
him speak.
You got 10 minutes.
Hit Q&As for each of you right now. Short questions, 45 seconds, please, on the answers. And we're going to go left to right as I look at you right now. Mr. Poilievre, you get the first question. To the best of my knowledge, you have not offered a hard timeline, as the other parties have, to meet Canada's NATO commitment of 2% spending on defense. When would you hit that target?
My aim will be to 2030. That said, when we renegotiate our trade deal with the U.S., I know it's their priority to see us increase our military budget. One of the things I will say to the Americans is the more free trade, tariff-free free trade we have, the faster we can rebuild our military in Canada and reassert our sovereignty. And
how many more Freudian slips are we going to get here?
Wait, I missed it. What did he say?
It's just how hard is it to like hit the NATO target, and he's just like, we got to rebuild our military and all this. I'm just wondering how many other Freudian slips we're gonna get.
To have heavy icebreakers in the north, Poseidon aircraft, fighter jets, a new base in the north, double the Arctic Rangers, fill the vacancies in the armed forces, and rebuild the warrior spirit that characterized our military since the birth of our country. We will rebuild our forces, and we will stand behind our veterans.
Thank you, Mr. Polyev. Mr. Carney, your question, you have both the consumer carbon tax and the capital gains tax increase that you inherited from your predecessor. Is that an admission that the Liberals made life less affordable for Canadians?
I think let me give you the rationale behind both of those changes. First, with respect to the consumer carbon tax, in effect, it become too divisive for Canadians. Canadians received rebates. On the whole, they received more than the tax actually was, but some had represented that it was a tax without a rebate. It became divisive. It didn't serve its purpose. I wonder who that was. It made a relatively modest contribution to overall climate goals. I got rid of it. First act made Canadians whole. Secondly, but with respect to the capital gains tax, it's come up again, I'll be quick. This is a fundamental issue. We need to build this country. Builders, innovators, entrepreneurs need to be rewarded. That's why I brought it back.
And that's time. Thank you. Mr. Singh, would you change the existing cap on immigration?
I've said that the level of immigration, first of all, we need immigration. It's fundamentally important to our country. And we speak to any small business owner, you speak to people here in Quebec, you speak to farmers. It's fundamentally important. A couple of things, though, we know we need to be able to set the amount of folks that we welcome to our country at a level that it meets our needs. So I would ensure that we've got an expert panel that makes that determination based on our economic needs. We also know that we should be very clear that the lack of investment from Liberals and Conservatives resulted in the fact that we have a shortage in housing. That's something that we've got to fix. I should also point out that if you are worried about the cuts being proposed by Liberals and Conservatives, vote for New Democrats. We'll fight back to protect Canadians and make sure that we've got the right immigration levels.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. That's time. Mr. Blanchet, Quebec, I believe, is now the only province with a carbon tax. Do you think that's fair?
It's not entirely true. It's not a tax. What Quebec has is a system by which we invite big emission companies, I don't know how to translate that,
They have a cap and trade system that they share with California. Ontario used to have that with them, but then Doug Ford came in and got rid of it. And then we got our own carbon tax. So just in case you were wondering, the reason why we got the carbon tax is because we got rid of cap and trade.
Reduce their emissions. If they do not, then they have to pay. It goes into a fund, which is invested then in reducing emissions. Our partner is California, which makes this a huge deal about reducing emissions. This is what we do. This is to be compared to what Europe does. And by the way, Europe would impose tariffs on Canadian oil if it ever got there. We're quite proud of that. And we have to be responsible because this is much less expensive than doing nothing to fight climate.
That's time. We're going to do.
For fuck's sake, man. It's just like, let him finish the thing on climate. Just let him finish it.
Set of quick hits here. Left to right again. And 30 seconds this time. Mr. Polyev, you've previously promised to defund the CBC as one of your very first acts as Prime Minister. Is that still the plan?
Yes, CBC will continue to operate as a self-funded, Canadian-owned and controlled non-for-profit that raises money like other media organizations through sponsorships, subscriptions, advertising, licensing fees, and countless other things that will ensure Canadians who still want to listen and view its content will be able to do so.
CBC will turn into rebel media.
Yeah,
we're going to sell it to Ezra Levant.
Everybody has their voice heard and they can make their own decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. The next question to you, 30 seconds. Would you remove some of Canada's legal tax avoidance loopholes that companies that you have worked for have used?
Look, I
just
think
say yes,
what
man.
we need to do is undertake a comprehensive review of our corporate tax system and do that on the basis of the right principles. We've got to have fairness, transparency, sustainability, and competitiveness. So we need a tax system, a corporate tax system, including being part of a international minimum corporate tax through the OECD.
And that is time. Mr. Singh, the question
I think
for
he
you
would
is...
love to talk for 7 hours on corporate taxes. I think he would love that. He would just love to really get in the weeds on that one.
If you hold the balance of power after this election is over, what would your price be to support another party?
We've laid out our priorities. We want to make sure we bring down the cost of groceries, build homes that people can afford. I can also tell you that we would defend CBC, unlike Mr. Poilievre, who wants to cut it, and we would close tax loopholes and offshore tax havens, even though Mr. Carney didn't respond to that, and selling stocks and shares to make profits and then having less taxes on that is not hard work. And so those aren't the job creators. The people who are job creators are the hardworking men and women that contribute to our economy.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Monsieur Blanchet, kind of the same question. If you hold the balance of power in the next minority parliament, if it is that, what would be the price of your support?
Respect for Quebec. That's quite easy. I don't want to go against what Canada wants to do for itself, but I don't want Canada to impose an economic vision or a multiculturalist vision on Quebec, which is different in terms of language and values and secularity and equality between people. So I want to be a partner.
Yeah, Quebec's really progressive until you're like, oh yeah, they're also kind of racist. It's a little tad more racist. It's a little tad more racist than English.
And if Quebec is respected, Canada has nothing to fear from the Bloc because we vote for what is good for Quebec. It only has to be good for Quebec.
Thank you, Monsieur Blanchet.
He's still
now,
from the
we
Bloc.
have one last question for each of you. We'll go right to left this time as I look at you. Bit of an offbeat question. Mr. Blanchet, what is your biggest regret during this campaign?
That's a very good question. I'm not very fond of regrets, I would say, but we should have started sooner to see that we had to create the environment for a deal in which Quebec and Canada would be, one bigger than the other, but partners to be stronger in front of Mr. Trump and showing that maybe nobody here is the partner to let go alone without being surveyed or controlled or supervised by a Quebec voice.
Thank you, Mr. Blanchet. Same question, Mr. Singh. Your biggest regret of this campaign?
Not being able to meet as many people as I would love to have. It's a short campaign, and so I can't get to as many communities
That's
as I wanted
nice.
to. I think
He
one
seems
of the
like a nice
honors
guy.
of my job.
He's
is
really
to
nice.
hear their stories.
I ain't nothing bad to say about him.
And bringing them to Ottawa and to fight for those
To be
people.
fair,
And
Pierre
so I
also
want you to
seems
know,
like
even
a
if
really
I
nice
haven't made
guy.
it to your community, I'm going to fight like hell
I guess.
to make sure that you're represented. that
I'm
we
sure he'd be
never
nice
let
to my
any
face.
other help, that we defend the values that we care so deeply about. We make my life more affordable. That's my commitment to you. Even if I didn't get to see you, that's my commitment.
I think in
That's
order to
nice.
have my vote at all, like you do need to go on the Nardwar and do the hip flip.
Yeah.
And if anyone hasn't seen that, it's both Singh and Carney go on it, and Nardwar, man, Nardwar's just got so much homework done.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Mr. Carney, same question. Biggest regret of the campaign?
I'm to be honest, it's the same answer. This is an astonishing country. It is an amazing country, and
Oh, you can't steal Singh's answer. Get out of here.
I mean, it's the liberal thing to do.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, the NDP does something good, and then the liberals go, "Oh, my idea."
Yep.
We
we'll
did
take that.
healthcare.
Challenges.
And then Pierre watches.
Exactly.
Drawing strength and ideas from them, and working to be part of the solution is the greatest honor of my life. But the regret is that it is also a big country, and it is a short period of time.
Mr. Poilievre, last word to you.
I actually agree with these two gentlemen.
Oh.
I had a rule that at all my rallies, even when they're really big, I would stand in front of a flag and
They're very, very big, by the way. They're extraordinarily big, his rallies.
They're the biggest. They're the biggest ones.
And learn their struggles.
Do you believe the polls?
And that was always touching to me, that they would put their faith in me or in any of us.
Yeah.
But we've been in such a rush because we have to get off to the next event, so we haven't been able to stop and do that. And I want you to know out there, I haven't forgot about you. Thank you.
Wow.
It is time now for closing statements, and prior to the debate.
Do you think they like practice those voices? Those like, I care about you voices.
I think they absolutely do. I think you have to.
Thank you. Because you
Apparently rally size was on the bingo sheet.
This country that we love, universal health care and pensions, because you voted for us. Because you voted for New Democrats, we were able to fight to bring in dental care, pharmacare, and childcare. because you voted for us, because you supported us. You have the power with your vote to send more New Democrats to Ottawa, to continue that fight, to make sure that no government cuts the things that we hold dear, like our healthcare, to ensure that we can do everything possible to make life more affordable by making it more affordable to buy your groceries and to get a home. I'm asking for your support in this election so that I can continue to fight to defend the things that make Canada, Canada, the things that we hold dear, the things that make us proud to be Canadian.
Thank you, Mr. Singh.
There's some polling out there that says Singh might not even win a seat, which would be brutal.
That'd be brutal.
We are facing the biggest crisis.
I think he did well in this, though. I think this will probably swing some people.
Yeah, I think so too.
Change the world economy.
Another one by Patrolman. Political debate should be moderated by Nardwar. Not gonna lie. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Someone said that in my chat too.
Yo, we got some parallel thoughts going on, and I think that would be hella fun.
The trading system.
Did I just say hella? Good God.
But really, what he's
hella.
trying to do to Canada, he's trying to break us so the U.S. can own us. They want our land. They want our resources. They want our water. They want our country.
They want our women.
We're all going to stand up against Donald Trump. I'm ready.
Garrett would be fine with that.
Over the years, I've built strong economies.
Well, if he gets a security clearance.
We will fight back. We will protect workers.
You know what I'm saying.
We will build a strong
yeah, I got there eventually.
We got there eventually. That was a thinker.
We will build Canada strong. I'm asking for your support. The honor of doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. Monsieur Blanchet.
For 260 years and a little bit more, les Français, devenus des Canadiens, devenus des Canadiens français, devenus des Québécois, you have tried to have them become Canadians like all Canadians. But to no avail, we are different. So let's be economic partners. Let's have a voice chosen by and for Quebecers, an ally for Canadians as equals in front of Mr. Trump.
Monsieur Poiliev.
Only in Canada could someone start where I began and get to this stage. I was born to a single mother and adopted by school teachers who raised me to believe in the incredible Canadian promise that anyone who worked hard could do anything.
Bro, you haven't had a job outside of government. Bro, you haven't
That's
even
not
had
true. That's not true. He was a TELUS collections agent.
Oh, fun. Cool. All right. Like, man, I've had so many fucking jobs before doing this shit. Like, it's just not. Yeah.
Like, we don't have real jobs, but we earned it. I fucking scrubbed floors, man.
Oh, man, I just I was a mailman. I was a caterer. I fucking had to deliver food on bikes. Jesus. Anyway,
that promise feels broken today.
Sell shoes.
Many of you worry about paying your bills, feeding your families, or ever even owning a home. You're worried your kids are in danger.
Ooh, a single mother, get in line. says the comments.
Restore the Canadian promise so that hard work gets you a beautiful house on a safe street under a proud flag. We can do it with
Do you think he got vocal coaching for that? Because I've heard, have you seen those the voice actors on TikTok where they'll be this is the bubbly voice and this is the warm, happy voice. You know what I mean?
His birthday yesterday.
As a voice actor, you have to be able to smile because people have to hear it. There's a whole thing. I have done voice acting. It's one of those things that you take coaches and it's just you can hear the smile. So when you're doing those Tim Hortons ads, you're doing this.
Yeah. It really, okay, let's both do our best warm Canadian dream.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
It's he's you're doing the
you go first. You go first.
As someone who grew up a school teacher, a single mother, and a poor black child, I know the value of hard work. And I know that many of you out there are wondering how you're going to feed your bills and pay your family. But the truth is, our flag is a leaf. And if we don't leave the liberals behind, then you won't be able to afford a house. I'm Pierre Polyev.
Incredible. All right. Hold on, I gotta. Okay. Yeah, I got it. As an American who's also a Canadian whose mother was a dog and my father was a cat, I didn't have it easy. Stupid. I didn't have it easy.
Commit.
You know I can't do that. I didn't have it easy growing up on these streets where I live in constant terror of the fentanyl crisis and the liberal lost decade, but just seeing your smiling faces in the crowd made me remember that selling out to America, it's all worth it. Fuck, I don't know.
Yo, you got pointed there. You got some real pointed there. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
We're coming to the end.
Ohana means family. Okay, I'm done.
I'm just saying, we're coming to the end here, and I just want to thank anyone who tuned in. If you're still watching, you're lovely.
Therefore, we didn't need to move the
It was sultry. I was going for heartfelt. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Okay, go Habs, go. That's fine.
Okay.
So
thank you, leaders.
They're wrapping up. I'm just getting word that like last night there was there was a whole scuffle thing that happened with the Rebel asking them questions. There was a whole asking questions thing, and the Rebel asked some bullshit questions. They are now canceling that because the Rebel ruined it for everyone. There was a whole scrum that was planned for after this, and the Rebel ruined everyone's party.
That's funny.
And all the the NDP and the Liberals are we're not answering those stupid questions. Fuck this. We're not doing it. I'm getting late breaking news.
That's funny, man. I mean, fair enough. I want to stop watching this. I'm bored.
We're done.
So, thank God for Rebel News. I never thought I'd say it, but thank God for Rebel News.
Thank you, Ezra Levant, for canceling it.
I feel like I have a lot of non-Canadians in my chat. Rebel News is they're sort of like a combination of InfoWars and Fox News. They're crazier than Fox News, but less crazy than InfoWars.
But with a tenth of the budget.
They're like Breitbart.
Yeah, so they're it's like a right wing. They're kind of global, and the guy who runs it, Ezra Levant, wrote a book called Ethical Oil, all about how great oil is in Canada. But yeah, we're having a good time here in Canada. They're an institution.
Oh, okay, before we wrap up, what the fuck was that climate debate? We're cooked, right? Should I start building my bunker? I didn't realize that because the Americans didn't talk about it, but I was surely in Canada we're better than this.
So yes, it's already bad. We already know that things have gotten so bad over the last 40 years from a whole bunch of inaction. But it's also we're not going to be there's always room for improvement, and things can change in a way that you don't necessarily expect. We didn't expect coal to fucking go the way it did, and for solar to become literally the cheapest form of electricity in 10 years. We did not see these things coming. So there's a bunch of black swan events in it baked in already. I'm worried about a few things, but what Canada does ultimately, I think what it should be doing, and if we have good leadership, is advocating for more global solutions that will bring other people along. And if we have an international agreement to bring things down faster, that would be great. And I think ultimately a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty is the way to do that.
Totally.
And it's up to us to tell our federal leaders to make that happen, frankly. And
yeah, this is why I'm writing so hard for Carney. Not because I think, I'm not writing hard for Carney. I'm just writing against Pierre Polyev. But let's be real. That's mostly for Carney. Is just because I think that Carney is very movable. And I feel like if everybody in Canada all of a sudden has a come to Jesus moment and goes, oh my God, we should care about climate change, Mark Carney will actually do something about it. And then Pierre Polyev will be like, well, we've got so many trees.
The tree things, I mean, we don't have to get into that. The one thing I am worried is there is evidence now, I think, of U.S. oil interests fomenting a separatist movement in Alberta. Like I am worried about that being a thing, because there's all of these fucking think tanks out there that have been like so pro oil and supporting people like the Reform Party and all of these people who are coming out, like the Daniel Smiths of the world, and they're now basically saying, if you don't elect Pierre Poilievre, we're gonna fucking leave, and that is
best of luck to them. I mean, they said that shit.
But they would join the United States. They would just join the United States. That's what would happen. And
yeah, I simply don't think it's gonna fly. Like, there was a lot of Wexit talk after 2019 or whenever it was.
You're right.
And you know, I mean, I think most Albertans are like actually pretty reasonable. Most Albertans aren't like crazy hee-haw, you know, let's go to Stampede and you know, shoot our pistols into the sky while like sucking on oil. I think most of them are chill, and they're just like, oh well, you know, you gotta get energy somewhere. I don't think that they would do it.
I don't think so either. Especially because I mean, it's only 30% right now, being like, if Carney wins, then we'll leave. And you're right, in 2019 there were even more people who were being like, fuck this, let's get out of here.
Yeah. And it was ridiculous. Yeah, no, I don't see that as a genuine threat, but who fucking knows? I didn't see Trump as a genuine threat either, so what do I know?
Well, that's the thing that I'm worried about is that there's going to be money poured into it now. So, you know, the U.S. has a long history of destabilizing other countries to take them over or whatever, to have influence on them.
Yeah, you have a good point there, actually.
So it's like not, but then, and
yeah,
they have a stated aim.
They could just Venezuela us, or I guess not Venezuela.
Well, Venezuela is the other place they could get their oil.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Chile, they could Chile us. Does Chile have oil? Well, that's what they did. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is that they can. They have a long history of destabilizing countries, and they know how to do it very well. And it wouldn't be the first time that they have destabilized a country for oil.
Yeah, they could CIA us for sure. We'll see about that.
We'll see. All right, chat. Thank you for joining in.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody who's still here. Damn, that was fun. You guys are hilarious in my chat, by the way. I don't know about Aaron's chat. But my chat.
Yeah. Next time we do this, we have your chat like in my chat or whatever. There's probably a way to do that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out a way to combine the chats somehow or something. Canada is wide Chile. I've been saying this too.
Your chat is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they've been posting bangers the whole time. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you.
If you follow me, follow him. If you follow him, follow me.
Yeah. Follow Hazel is online, and also follow Canada-splaining on Instagram if you're not there.
And follow the Goose. The Goose Media, or is it just the Goose on YouTube?
I say the Goose as the name, but the handle is _Goose_Media.
Follow the _Goose_Media.
The _Goose. Anyway. All right, peace. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.